Afternoon and welcome everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. Good Monday. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Appreciate you joining us. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. But if you do, go back, get caught up at your leisure. All 3 hours posted upon the conclusion of the show. We'll throw it up there on our website as well as on iTunes. And we appreciate those of you who are kind enough to rate it 5 stars and share. You can email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at jcameron.show. Also on YouTube again, but still just the audio. Soon, in some capacity, we'll start to incorporate video to go with sound. But that's where we're at. And I hope this finds you doing well. The end of pretty much a shared viewing experience across the country took place last night. A lot of people taking in the final 2 chapters, final 2 episodes of The Last Dance. I thought it was compelling yet again, and I thought it was sewn up nicely. I thought they did a good job. The last 4 episodes really shined. Did a real good job because they incorporated the Steve Kerr aspect of this, which I was wondering if they would get to it and how they would do that. I was aware of his father's murder, but I had kind of forgotten some of the details, frankly. And so they really tied that together well. And then I thought that when it's revealed that Mike wanted to come back and that a lot of the other guys would have come back if the franchise had just allowed for them to come back and make a run at a 7th, and that they didn't, you realize that's very of the times, man. That just would not fly today. That's just nuts. There would have been some complications. And, oh, by the way, my personal opinion is they would not have won it if they came back. But certainly to have the freedom to give it a go, to make a run at it, and to ensure that you go out swinging, as opposed to this, which is just meekly in the night, having been dissolved from within. I could see why Jordan's a little pissed. He sounded still to this day a little salty. I thought it was interesting that he had never spoken to Jerry Reinsdorf about it. They had never spoken about this. That's amazing.
Well, what's interesting to me is, if they were to come back for one more year, he'd have to do something very differently than he did prior to, this Last Dance, these last 3. He'd have to take a big pay cut in order to make it all work. Because I don't know that they could have brought Rodman back. I don't know that Rodman would have lived through another season.
Rodman was shot, though, by the end anyhow. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
You'd have to take a pay cut to make the whole thing work with Scotty. And I don't even know that they could. Krause leaving probably would have been a good olive branch to begin those negotiations. But then you've got to replace Dennis and get some other pieces around in order to make that whole thing work and be fortified enough to go through the East, go through that Indiana team again. The Knicks end up coming out in the shortened season in 99. And then obviously San Antonio was emerging in the West. I mean, there were a lot of good teams that were just arriving on the scene.
And we forget that was a weird thing. That abbreviated season is one that a lot of people put an asterisk next to, and I understand why. By the way, the Knicks were an 8 seed that got to the finals. I've forgotten all about that. It was bizarre.
But that's where the Bulls, load management was not a thing in those days. But if you had 4 games in 5 days, like that season featured, I would think that for once, Jordan would say, all right, I don't even care what seed we are. We just need to go to the playoffs because it's a binary goal, 1 or 0. Do we win it or do we not? Because that's the closure he's looking for.
Yeah, he wanted a shot at being able to defend the title, sure. It's so bizarre. It's just a guy who is arguably the greatest player to ever live, not wielding and using the authority and power that he had. Not that he could have known it. Things are different now. But the players control the game so much more. I mean, he could have easily walked through the door or gone public. He could have begun to leak all of this well in advance and said, can you believe this? They're going to dissolve from within. They're not going to give us a chance to defend the title. Let that leak out. The fans adored Michael Jordan and hell, for that matter, Phil Jackson and that team. They would have had no choice. It is also just weird because I don't know why Reinsdorf would acquiesce to Krause. It's just crazy. Anyhow, it was an interesting episode. It was fun.
But it seems like there was an awful lot of fatigue Like Jordan can say that now, and I'm sure he said it removed from the situation, but it seemed like everybody was kind of tired of each other. Like even Phil was kind of burnt out. I read something over the weekend. They had the old ESPN the magazine. This, I guess, when ESPN the magazine was brand new, but he was doing a diary during that playoff run, and in the diary, just the way it read, it was like he's already checked out for after this moment because he lived in the moment. But he's like, the next thing is not this. I need to get the hell away.
Well, he did get away, and he came back and ended up making a ton of money for another 20 years. I mean, if I'm Jordan, I'm a little resentful. I mean, that's a weird deal. Yeah, it's also strange that the guy who had just won the MVP and a title is, in essence, forced out of the game. It's just bizarre.
Somewhat, yeah.
I mean,
he said he wasn't going to play for anybody but Phil, though. So, I mean, he put restrictors on his, future.
Well, not in Chicago. He wasn't going to play for anybody other than Phil. He ended up, of course, going back and playing for the Washington Wizards, and that was weird. We'll say this, even as old as he was, he had that season where he averaged, 25-5? I mean, it was kind of nuts. He actually wasn't terrible at all. Of course, I don't know if Mike would be terrible now. He'd still be pretty good, probably.
He could probably give you like 8 and 3, playing 5 minutes a night.
Yeah, he could probably give you a little something, go on a little spurt there where he drops 2 or 3 baskets in a real quick in a hurry. Because he was already doing things that resembled his game late in that last run. He's tired. He's really tired. You can see it.
Well, and that's where I think a lot of coaches around the country, be it on the professional level, college, high school, when he says that he appreciates the second run more because it was the blend of his freak athleticism
combined with the maturation of the game and his mind.
His mind and his body working together. That is what coaches always strive for, an awareness to go along with the skill.
It's cool. It's cool to watch. I don't end up disliking him. I end up liking him and understanding that he is weird. A lot of guys who are that great at anything are. We discussed this a lot over the course of the documentary. I almost don't think it's possible for them to be normal when you're that kind of preternaturally great at something. It's just and driven. But there's weird father issues there. There's a lot of psychological burdens that are involved in this. And this did shed a light on that. In that sense, it was really, really good. I still think you have a lot of poignant moments. You have a lot of it was interesting to hear from the director. I heard it from him again last night. He was on Van Pelt, but he's done a lot. He's made the rounds. He's done a lot of interviews.
He needs to, yeah.
He's done a lot of interviews, and there have been a lot of questions. And he said that the one from the other night where Jordan got choked up about the way he competes and the way he viewed being a leader and the way as he noted, there's a price for winning. And, and I played that way. And if you didn't want to play that way, you didn't have to. When he got choked up, the cool thing is the director said that happened very early in the process, that was one of the first interviews they did. And he was uncertain how much Mike would be willing to delve into individual players, games, seasons, or personal thoughts on the way he's viewed. And so he asked that question. The director asked the question off camera. And when Mike starts to talk about, look, I don't have to do this, but he continues on, and the only reason I am is because it's who I am. The director basically said he knew, like, oh, we're going straight there. We're getting into it. But that it was part of a long answer, and then he got choked up.
But I think Michael is also smart enough to realize that this will become the media of record to put the stamp on his legacy. Mm-hmm. So I think he goes into it knowing that he has a couple of things he wants to make sure he hits on.
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying, I think he helped control the message here. I appreciate it for what it is. Incredibly entertaining and really insightful, but I don't know that it was as transparent as I was hoping when I saw the trailer 6 months ago or whenever they first released it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have any negatives to say about it. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I'm sure there's always something here or there small that, I don't know that we needed the entirety. We could have, okay, I do have one criticism. We could have done without the long Dennis Rodman episode. We could have just said, we've done Dennis Rodman. We did an entire E60 or 30 for 30 on him already. Let's use that one to somehow explore him and Juanita's relationship. I don't know that they could have, though, because if she doesn't want to talk and he doesn't want to talk about it, well, then we're done.
Well, I feel bad for his sons because clearly they sat down. I don't think they were there just for the 10-second soundbite that they used. They probably asked them a ton of freaking questions, and it's like, little cameo in episode 9.
They strike me as boring.
All right.
They didn't have a lot to say.
We're in the basement.
Yeah, they just didn't have a lot to say.
Utah was not safe. That's interesting.
Indiana looked crazy.
Oh, my God.
Those fans. How about that woman? Get it together, lady.
So, she looked like Vanna White, first of all.
Yeah.
Like the one fan with the glasses. You remember Napoleon Dynamite and the brother?
Yeah, he looks just like him. Yeah, he looks just like him.
He looks just like that guy.
He does look just like that guy. I thought it was odd. We'll talk about it a couple times today. I do want to bring up something involving Florida State and looking ahead to the fall. First of all, real quick, Ira Schoffel will join us in the 4 o'clock hour, and I have a chance to talk about recruiting because he wrote a piece on it. Florida State did get a commitment today. The Knowles kid, the defensive back, Knowles as in Know. Sorry, it would be really cool
like
if we had a recruit.
last name.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if we got a recruit named Knowles. Yeah. Hey, look at that! You had to come here. But anyhow, it's defensive back from South Florida. That'll be we'll get into that. But it appears now they're beginning to come together with a plan over in the athletic department. And just as I scratch the surface here, we'll get more into it later. But look, they're looking at certain salary cuts for coaches. Percentage somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%, 25%, 15%, we're hearing.
Fully expected that one, right? I mean,
yeah, that's not.
Syracuse announced it super early. I think it was 20% across the board.
Yeah, Florida State's just now coming around here on that, and they're going to do it in a different way. It sounds like they're going to be smart about this. And look, if you make $5 million a year, you get a certain cut. That is you have to endure a larger percentage than say the guy that's making of your money, that is, as opposed to the guy making $80,000 a year. You can't take 20% of the guy making $80,000 a year. It's a little bit different kind of an impact. So they're exploring ways to do this and make it fair across the board. And then without question, they have to make plans for the fall. They got to start looking ahead of as if football is going to be played, because I think that's where the momentum lies. And they're having to figure out, is it going to be played in front of 25% capacity at Doak? Is it going to be 50% capacity at Doak? What does that mean for the money? What does that mean for game day operations? What does that mean about what we allow, what we don't allow for tailgating, et cetera? And then they have to look also at flights. And I think that almost all the non-revenue sports are basically getting told, get ready to bus. And you're certainly not going out of the country to recruit. I mean, I think that's what we're starting to look at. There are real financial hardships to deal with here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the athletic departments of the ACC, talk about these things. That if you've got a volleyball schedule, might you regionalize it more than what was originally laid out? Might you group them together so you can go on a road trip? Maybe you go Boston College, Syracuse. If you got to play both of them on the road, let's group that together over a longer period of time rather than, to minimize the flights. You hop on a bus to get from one to the other once you're up there, and then you come back.
Yeah,
You've got to look at all these things. And then, obviously, for all sports, if I'm a coach bus company here in Tallahassee or near
all right,
Tallahassee,
get ready to drive, baby.
I'd call up. I'd say, hey, you need some help? Because we hear that you might be moving around these parts in a bus.
Yeah, I think a lot of the non-revenue sports now are going to encounter a different way of life, far less travel, no more far-reaching destinations to play events. That's all going to get restricted. The non-revenue sports, in many cases, you kind of think, are in danger, although I, again, understand the Title IX implications of cutting. But, this is a different reality. And there are going to be changes that will be felt immediately by those coaching staffs. And I think they'll probably let football travel, maybe basketball, and that's about it. If you're a non-revenue sport, you can travel. You can get your ass in the car.
I just wonder what the definition of a scholarship will be once we come out of this, even if it's for a temporary circumstance of this academic calendar year, where a college basketball player or a college football player might have a different reality of a scholarship than, say, a swimmer or a cross-country runner.
What they are per year, yeah.
Right, meaning
like cost,
the
associated
cost dorms or the gear that they get, right? I just wonder how that's going to shake
food,
out the travel. Yep, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think they'd be looking at each part of that process to minimize the cost. You might not be able to get rid of or reduce the scholarship itself, but what that scholarship entails, maybe you can trim here and there within the fact that you're giving one to a student.
So what you're talking about is like the cost of a basketball scholarship, a full scholarship for a basketball player might be $180,000 to $200,000 per player.
Right.
Whereas in swimming, it might be $60,000.
Yeah, when you're talking about travel, food, do you need like 12 kinds of Nike gear, or maybe just 6 or 7 kinds of Nike gear?
Correct. Yeah, food, travel, all that for them. It's very different. You're right. Also, by the way, the reason I say they're gearing up for that is obviously they're confronting the financial realities, but it does look collectively. Now we'll see. This information changes the way this is viewed as we move along, but it does appear that like even the NFL, et cetera, are gearing up to come back. NFL teams, staffs can begin returning to work a week from tomorrow. And that according to a memo that Roger Goodell sent out over the weekend. And that was an 8-week total shutdown amidst COVID-19. So coaches are not allowed back, nor are players, unless they've received medical treatment. So they have to be looked at, they have to be tested. All that is true. Teams that have implemented the league-mandated health and safety protocols and are allowed by local law in whatever state they're in can bring back 50% of their staff currently, up to 75 people across all locations a week from tomorrow.
Oh, it's going to happen, man.
Yeah.
Even hockey's close to coming to an agreement on a 2014 protocol where they have some regular season to sort out the playoff picture, and then they go.
But you got a number of hockey players that are bucking this and saying they don't want to play. I mean, a lot of guys have come out and said, "Nah, I don't really feel like it." Well,
the league will be extending a finger to them in short order, and it's not the pointer finger.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Barry knows school, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows school, you can put him to the test.
Your home has been a place of great comfort. We can help you keep it that way. Barno Heating and Air is helping you get ready for summer with $1,500 off select new units, 0% financing for qualified buyers, plus worry-free maintenance plans. Learn more or schedule online at BarnoAC.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barno Heating and Air today. Total license CAC 1816186.
Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar is your cigar place to relax in Tallahassee. With a brand new location at 926 North Monroe, right down from the state capitol, Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar has a variety of amenities to offer both individuals wanting to come in and relax or a small group that wants to access their conference rooms. Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar is the premier cigar lounge in Tallahassee. Come celebrate their grand opening April 4th from 6 to 10 p.m. Check out the largest humidor in Tallahassee and the Diamond Crown Lounge at Cigars of Tally, 926 North Monroe, just down the road from the Capitol.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm Jake! And I'm Jack! We're the Plow Guys! How do we keep your driveways clean? With commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive! They help with a customized insurance plan that keeps our business on the road! And that's news worth shouting out loud simultaneously!
Enthusiastic yelling at the same time.
Yeah!
Terrible. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Its affiliated and third-party insurers.
AAA Tree Experts has been a Tallahassee staple for over 35 years. But did you know they now offer landscaping? AAA landscaping services include custom outdoor landscape, creative landscape design and architecture, hardscapes, waterscapes, retention walls, and French drains, irrigation and sodding, landscape and holiday lighting. Call them today for all your outdoor landscaping needs. 850-385-3319 or visit them online at AAATreeExperts.net. AAA Tree Experts and Landscaping.
You've known for a while now that the best place to grab lunch in downtown Tallahassee is Metro Deli. But did you know that Metro Deli is now offering its own online grocery list? That's right. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to check out all of the best offerings of meats, cheeses, breads, egg salad, tuna salad, signature dishes, and more from your friends at Metro Deli. Metro Deli, more than just a lunch shop, now your corner deli market. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to support those who support local hospitality workers during the COVID-19 crisis.
Who's ready for the best wings in Tally and locally brewed beers? Hobbit American Grill is the place to be. They've been voted Tally's best wings again in 2018. Hobbit offers Bingo Mondays, happy hour all-day Fridays with craft beers on tap from all the local breweries. And the Hobbit is your home for all the UFC fights with plenty of high-def TVs for everyone. Be on the lookout for the food truck coming soon with the best lip-smacking wings in town. Hobbit American Grill, celebrating 40 years of serving great food to great friends for good times. For info on their hours and 3 locations, visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
Attention Tallahassee, Phase 1 is Phase Patio at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill will be serving up the coldest, crispest refreshments and their signature delicious jumbo wings, all while adhering to responsible social distancing. You know this is the best time of the year to sit on the outdoor patio or deck, so make the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachie Parkway your first and most frequent stop for Phase Patio. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Order takeout today at cptallybar.com. That's cptallybar.com. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Do we go from here?
Yeah, by the way, since we last talked last week, Blake Snell with a tremendous blunder from a PR standpoint. Sir. You can think it, you just can't say it. You sound like an ass. Kevin Cash tried to stick up for his guy by simply stating, I guess we're free to think and say whatever we want. Oh, we're going to go the old, this is America route defense? That's pretty good, Kevin. When there's nowhere else to go and you disagree with your player, but you still need to show support for said player, you go with the, well, this is America.
The United States.
You can do it. That's about the weakest defense of a player or friend that you can present, but okay.
I think we need more of that in this country. You know, instead of people just shouting at each other, well, this is America, you are entitled to that opinion, and then walk away or pivot to, I'll have another. Thank you.
Yeah. Doesn't mean you're right, and you sound like a fool, but I'll defend your right to say it to the very, very end. So here's the thing.
The thing is, it's both of our flags, right? It's equally yours as it is mine.
Oh. Well, I bring it up just because when I read it, I went, oh, Blake, this is easily avoidable. When you're doing interviews or you're on a podcast, understand that people are going to be able to hear it. Just think about these things. So, anyhow, Major League Baseball has seen a few players step in it so far when it comes to not wanting to play or not wanting to take less money to play, and taking issue with the owners at a time where really the public is hurting and nobody wants to hear it. Major League Baseball does say, though, prorated salaries would lead to $640,000 in losses per game. And so, in an initial step towards negotiating the issue of player compensation, Major League Baseball informed the union that paying players prorated salaries over the course of a shortened 82-game season would result in an average loss of $640,000 for each game. Each game. That according to a 12-page document obtained by Sports Business Journal. The prospect of paying players prorated salaries, a compensation structure that the union maintains was agreed upon back in March, would yield what a source familiar with the owners' thinking called a devastating economic scenario for the sport. The document, titled Economics of Playing Without Fans in Attendance and dated May 12th, details how the proposed prorated salary structure would result in players taking nearly 90% of all revenue. A source familiar with the teams told the Sports Business Journal, it is not economically feasible to start the season playing without fans while paying players their full prorated salaries because the economic losses are staggering and clubs could not have enough revenue to keep non-players employed. There's also the risk that a postseason cannot be played because of a second wave, depriving clubs of revenue to support player salaries. That was the club's position in March. It remains their position today. Details in the document, first reported by the AP, help paint a grim economic picture of a baseball season played without fans. Several baseball sources said that, look, the owners are sizing this up. They're all speaking now on conditions of anonymity, by the way, about the specifics, but they believe the 2020 season would be in jeopardy if the union doesn't budge from this stance of insisting that the players get their full prorated salaries. Quote, the easiest way to think of it is, at a minimum, Major League Baseball is losing nearly $3 billion this year under any scenario, and the losses only go up from there. Jesus. If player salaries are prorated for an 82-game regular season, the Yankees would have $312 million in local losses when calculating their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation. The Yankees figure includes about $100 million towards bonds that finance new Yankee Stadium, money that already has been paid for 2020.
Oh boy.
The Dodgers, Tom, were second with $232 million in local losses, followed by the New York Mets, $214, Chicago Cubs, $199 million, Boston Red Sox, $188 million. The richest teams.
Well, some of that is fake, those numbers, because the cable networks offset some of that cost. But the difference here is, and I find this interesting, is apparently for TV deals negotiated with regional sports networks, let's say Fox Sports Rays, if you don't hit a certain threshold of games delivered as Major League Baseball, so if the Rays didn't deliver, the thresholds are usually 140 or 150. If you didn't hit that number, that means that Fox Sports Florida can not only not pay what they promised on the contract, they can pay you a per-game rate that was agreed upon in that contract. So every single team, because you're only playing 80 games, every single team's cable deal is not only going to be prorated in half, it's going to be prorated by more than half.
You nailed it. Revenue from RSNs drop in proportion to the lost games. So as you just noted, from $2.3 billion to $1.2 billion, and an average of $980,000 per game for both teams, according to the document. Club rights fees will be reduced further. Major League Baseball must pull games from clubs to satisfy the requirements of ESPN Sunday Night Baseball and Fox contracts. Clubs did not receive additional rights fees if ratings are higher than expected or if advertising income for the RSN is higher than expected. According to this document, Major League Baseball's 2019 revenue was 39% local gate and other in-park sources. Wow, I wouldn't have guessed that. Followed by 25% central revenue, 22% local media, 11% sponsorship, and 4% other. Baseball sources are optimistic, but cannot guarantee that small groups of fans are going to be permitted to some of the ballparks. Clubs project to increase their debt from $5.2 billion last year to $7.3 billion this year.
Yeah, so brass tacks on this whole situation, it's pretty simple. MLB said 50-50 split. The union said, no, we've already agreed to something in March. MLB says that'd be 90-10. So what are they doing? They're negotiating. It's from 50-50. They're saying the real deal is 90-10. What does the union want? Two things. Number one, they want to undercut the position of Major League Baseball for the next round of CBA negotiations.
Of course, we knew that. We talked about that last week.
They want them to look bad. Number 2,
and they're doing that successfully.
they're not allowed to see Major League Baseball's books, and they're telling you the Major League Baseball BS. We want to see the books. Maybe they believe it, maybe they don't, but they want MLB to open the books and show them where they're plucking these numbers from.
Well, that's not very different from some of the debates centered around Florida State, the boosters, and the athletic departments over the years, right? It's sort of been, or the various programs over the years. It's been like, can we see the numbers?
You want to send us this 12-page document saying specifically how much you lose. How did you arrive at that number?
Right.
I'd love to know.
Well, I certainly understand why you would push to do that. I also think they're probably not lying. Maybe it's less than that, but 90-10. But I do think this makes sense. You lay out the numbers. This makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it totally does. Now, this is one instance in which I'd side with the owners.
And I rarely do.
They make a big point that's being made all over the country for small businesses and corporations alike. We don't have the revenue. Where's our income?
Yeah. How are we supposed to pay you? Right. Yeah.
So if we don't get that, listen, Major League Baseball agreed to that thing in March with the Players Union, thinking that fans would be in the stands when they restart the season.
Of course they did.
To me, like you blushed at it, not blushed, but you just, double took. Like nearly 40% of the revenue is from the gate and concessions.
Yeah, I was shocked by that.
I don't know about that. 40%? I would have thought it'd be 40% TV.
Well, we have a source that worked inside of Major League Baseball for a very long time, and I will be calling him tonight to find out more. We'll revisit this story because I am curious what he thinks of it. He knows where teams make money and where they don't.
Well, the Marlins certainly don't make 40% on the gate. The Rays don't make 40% on the gate. That's MLB as a whole. So
they made all their money from TV rights.
Yeah.
The Rays do exceptionally well from a rating standpoint, by the way, for the games that are shown. It's remarkable for a city that doesn't support its team by actually going to games. They sure as hell watch them.
But I guess that means that the 2 New York franchises, and the Mets do okay. They're much better than the league average standard. Boston, the Dodgers,
Cubs.
St. Louis, the Cubs, they're the ones that are driving this number all the way up, so it's 40% of the revenue?
Yeah, those games are usually packed at those facilities. Cardinals games are always packed. I don't know about Dodgers. I guess Dodgers.
No, they are. People just they arrive late and they leave early.
Yeah.
So they're there for 3 innings.
Boston's always sold out. Hard to get a ticket to a game there. Cubs, ever since they won it again, got good again.
I just can't imagine the top 10, 12 franchises drive that number so it's that high.
It's crazy. That's why I was like, what? That's why I did a double take. I thought, that can't be right, but I guess it is.
I guess I know the markup on beer is substantial, but
Oh, it is, yeah. And you sell a ton of gear at games. That's where you really get, one of the things you get hurt by, like if we bring it back home to Florida State, if you've only got 25% capacity at Doak, yes, you're losing a lot in ticket sales, but man, all the people that are not there to walk into the stores to buy the shirts and all of that, I mean, that in stadium sports apparel place is I mean it's every time I walk past there, if I'm underneath the stadium, it's just wall to wall people.
Yeah, it's a zoo. Yeah, and then they have the floating areas too around the parking lots.
All over, yeah.
MLB's got to be very careful here because I know what they're doing to try and get a look at the books, and that's totally understandable. When you're trying to negotiate, you want to know what the terms are, like actually the terms, not the car dealer. And they're like, see, this is what this costs. And they're like, wait a minute, is this a sleight of hand trick? Or are you telling me that that's actually what it costs you, MSRP, whatever? But if they wait too long, everybody's going to side with the owners for the actual CBA negotiation.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose your standing as players. So you got to be very careful how you play this hand.
Yeah, and Tony Clark has been steadfast, saying that player compensation negotiations already took place. But Tony, I mean, look, I get it. You represent the players, but if you're Major League Baseball, you're certainly right to come back and say, well, this is subject to renegotiation. We have had a major, a pandemic hit us, and this was done because we thought fans were going to be in the stands. They're asking the players to share, as one quote is in the story, the collective pain of loss, that they're all losing money. Players have to share some of that, too, in this situation.
Well, it rolls downhill.
But it's so easy. If you're Blake Snell, man, you're going to make $10 million next year, and so what? You're going to make $3 million? Shut up and go play baseball. I get it. If you don't want to, it's your choice too. You can say, I don't feel safe. That's a different discussion. He's not really even siding.
No, he said the risk is too great. That's what he said, but it's followed up by, I want my full price money.
I want my money is what it's followed up by. Which is it, buddy? Yeah, which is it? Yeah. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Well, I get into the game, but it's always the same. I'm the man with the name. Hippopotamus. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Call me whatever you may. I ain't stopping the train. I got a bill full of pain. Hippopotamus. Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Cigars of Tally is your one-stop shop for everything cigars. With 2 convenient locations, Cigars of Tally is here to serve you. The 1401 Market Street location is right off I-10 and great for travelers and after-work stops. The Midtown location, Cigars of Tally Lounge and Bar at 926 North Monroe Street, is great for those winding down from a long day. With the largest humidor in town, affordable cigar lockers, a large covered patio, and private conference rooms, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Cigars of Tally, open 7 days a week. Need cigars? Get your ash in here.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Eddie from Gordo's Restaurants and Bumpa's Local 349. I just want to let you guys know that we here in the local community love to have you back. It's 25%, we know, but we're doing the best that we can to serve you and do what we do the way we do it. Same great food, a little bit more space. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of local restaurants out there. Just remember, eat local, drink local, be local. Come see us.
And now, an ad from Dad.
All right, save money on car insurance when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Can I take these off? All right. What is this? This looks good. Wow. That's well made. Where did you get this? I'm talking to you with the hair. Yeah, where did you get this? It's good stuff. That's solid. That's not veneer. That's solid stuff.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Attention Tallahassee, Phase 1 is Phase Patio at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill will be serving up the coldest, crispest refreshments and their signature delicious jumbo wings, all while adhering to responsible social distancing. You know this is the best time of the year to sit on the outdoor patio or deck, so make the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway your first and most frequent stop for Phase Patio. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Order takeout today at cptallybar.com. That's cptallybar.com. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
It's time to unite, Tallahassee. After years of our great local restaurants serving us, it's our turn to serve them. With this simple purchase of gift cards, we can help them survive the financial toll of COVID-19. Buy them for yourself, your family, or as gifts. No doubt we'll all have a reason to go out and celebrate soon as we safely can. Go to hungertohelp.com and show your support for the heart of our community today. This message brought to you in part by your local Tallahassee radio broadcasters.
AAA Tree Experts has been a Tallahassee staple for over 35 years. But did you know they now offer landscaping? AAA landscaping services include custom outdoor landscape, creative landscape design and architecture, hardscapes, waterscapes, retention walls, and French drains, irrigation and sodding, landscape and holiday lighting. Call them today for all your outdoor landscaping needs. 850-385-3319 or visit them online at AAATreeExperts.net. AAA Tree Experts and Landscaping.
Not every law firm is the same. For example, you don't hire a divorce attorney to handle a foreclosure. The same goes for your insurance claim. Hire a firm that has the knowledge and experience in handling insurance matters. The Morgan Law Group is dedicated solely to this cause, fighting insurance claims that are underpaid, delayed, or denied. With offices throughout Florida, the Morgan Law Group covers claims for all hurricanes, storms, mold, fires, boats, and even sinkholes. Representing the policyholder, going after the insurance companies. The Morgan Law Group. Offices Miami, Orlando, Naples, and Panama City. Online at policyadvocate.com.
Not an employee or member of law firm.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
So this is how it happens, all right? It's a celebrity poker tournament, and if you thought to yourself that John Hamm enters a chat room with Hambone in the house, you'd be correct. I show up at the table. Cards are being dealt, but there's only one person betting. So what's happening is, as this moves around the table and everyone's time runs out, Stugotz just keeps getting the money. Every time he bets, the money comes from Stugotz. So he's slowly bleeding people who are having trouble getting in the room. And I'm on the Skype, and I'm watching these people, and they're saying, I'm trying to get in, I can't get in. And I'm yelling at Stugotz in the chat room, Stugotz, stop taking everybody's money. We don't know these people. And Stugotz's chip total ended up at 12,000 before the thing even got started, while everyone else was starting at 8,000 because he'd stolen so much of their money. And he still finished last.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Gulick and Wingo.
This playing out in the court of public opinion ultimately ends up benefiting no one.
I agree.
Like in the normal course of negotiation, you're right. The ability to go out here. When I first saw that this plan was put out there, I went, I can't believe Major League Baseball would put this plan out because it's going to put the players in the spot where if they push back at all, they appear greedy. Yeah. And that's usually the goal in these things. And now going back the other way, the players, and we'll get to Sean Doolittle among them, bringing up a lot of the health and safety reasons, is the perfect rebuttal of that to bring this and make this about something that's so universally right now understood by people. Will the NBA and the PA look at this and say, you know what, it's probably better if we do all of our planning behind closed doors from now on and don't come to the table until we all agree on something, because there ain't no win with the look we got.
Gulick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Rock chemistry. Rock chemistry.
It's amazing how many things happened relatively recently in sports that I either needed to have my memory jogged about. And I'm not saying this in like, oh my God, I'm worried about early onset dementia. I'm saying things happen that you go, was it really then? I mean, this all started with me thinking about it's been 3 years since Chris Cornell died. I can't believe that. 3 years? Does that seem right to you? We love to play this game. That's a morbid subject, but it seems like 3 years to you?
Yes, it does.
Sometimes it seems a lot fewer years have passed than what I would remember, and other times it feels like, how in the world has that guy been dead 20 years? 3 sounds pretty good. I mean, right on.
It sounds accurate, yes.
Sounds accurate.
I feel like there's enough things that have passed. It's just, what's going to be interesting is when we remember this time from March to May of 2020 or however long, let's say it's 2023. How do we look back at that period of time? Is it like one long day? I can tell you that certain portions of my college experience, and this isn't about like George Carlin's stories, like I forgot a complete decade.
Right.
Just there are certain portions of undergrad based upon where I lived that I very much know when it happened. And then there's another portion where I lived in the same place for 5 years, and it feels like one long day because my existence was pretty much the same for 4 or 5 years, be it other classes or first or second job that I ever had out of college.
Lending context to time periods that date back more than 5 years becomes more and more difficult the longer you live because you have so many more years to account for and experiences. And I struggle sometimes to do the exact, and to be exact is what I mean. I'm saying you can easily remember something that happened in 2004, but when you're trying to remember exactly what you were doing, where you were living, who you were with, and all that, it gets more and more difficult because what usually has to happen is a significant event. I can remember very specific things in 2001 because of 9/11.
Yeah.
Pre and post 9/11, I can remember an awful lot of what was going on, who I was living with, where I was working. First of all, I was working at Clear Channel. Secondly, I can remember what was happening on that fateful day, and I can remember the apartment that I lived in, all of that. But if you remove a tragedy or a significant event like that, it gets blurry. It gets really difficult to kind of, was that 03 or 04?
So I can tell you for a fact that like the FSU Troy game where we needed a Buster Davis interception,
which is ridiculous.
At the end, okay, this was a complete waste of everything. So the weather was terrible, and we decided to listen to the game because we had friends in town, and so we're like, okay, you're not
Troy,
interested.
We
it's
don't
Troy.
care. Yeah,
we'll put Deckerhoff on, and the game is so close that we decide to get it in the fourth quarter on pay-per-view. We're like, well, we got to watch this.
Got to see what happens.
First play, Buster picks it off. So it was like, here's $20 for one play.
Well, at least you got to see it.
But I can tell you exactly when that was. That was the same year as Florida State Miami Monday night. Ugly game down there. The weather was sloppy. It was garbage. It's also the same year that Rutgers with Greg Schiano was a big deal. And they had the massive upset. I think it was like on a Friday night. Might have been a Saturday.
Thursday or Friday night, yeah.
Because I know where I lived. I could tell because I know what apartment I watched the game in. But like FSU basketball from say 2008 through 11 or 12. I don't know. I don't know which season is which season. Yeah, we were watching in the same room on the same TV.
They send us. I mentioned this. I referenced it earlier. Little packets. Sometimes ESPN will send us little packets that I don't use a lot unless I'm going to use it as a reference point. They'll give you the week's worth of significant dates in sports. So they'll say, hey, on May 18th, today's the 18th. So on May 18th, the NBA's Los Angeles Clippers won the first overall pick in the 2009 draft lottery. And they took, was it Michael Olowokandi?
Is that right, in 2009?
No, that was in 98. So that was the first time they had the lottery pick. Okay, I see, yeah. 2004, Randy Johnson became the oldest pitcher to throw a perfect game. Do you remember that in 2004?
Yeah, this is that's the same day as Game 5 of Lightning Flyers in the Eastern Conference Finals.
You reference everything by Lightning's Flyers, buddy, or Lightning, period.
We were up in New York for my grandmother's funeral, and so my dad and my mom were in one room, and I was in another room. I actually recently told this story, and we're watching Game 5 of Lightning Flyers, and it's in Tampa, so we missed this game. Gave the tickets to my friend, and he was very happy about it. He calls up and goes, hey, just so you know, Randy Johnson is doing something amazing on TBS.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so we flipped over to TBS, and I watched those two things simultaneously.
Perfect game. Age 40 is how old Randy Johnson was. He became the oldest pitcher to ever do it. And yet, there have been so few perfect games. I know Lebertard was talking about this on his show the other day. They were all talking about how many perfect games do you remember? And he remembered Dennis Martinez, and I remember that one. And then they went through and tried to remember all the perfect games, and I was sitting there yelling at the radio, Roy Halladay. I was yelling at but Dallas Braden had a perfect game on Mother's Day.
Yeah. It's the same year as Roy Halladay because you referenced it last week. Galarraga's no non-perfect game was the same season. He would have 3 in 1 year.
Which is bizarre because there have only been like 23 ever, right?
Correct,
yeah. So that really is extraordinary. I just don't remember that many, and I don't remember Randy Johnson's perfect game in 2004. I saw that today, and I thought, man, it all goes away in a haze.
I'm pretty sure that was a Saturday night, too. So you might have been doing something else entirely. Maybe watching Lightning Flyers. Maybe you were locked in. Who knows?
Did you, okay, so you would have only been 11. Were you a hockey nut by age 11?
I was a Lightning nut, so we'll see.
Well, the reason, okay, so today...
when I was 11, that's 97, all right? Well, actually, I would have been 98. So is it 97 or 98?
It's 1997.
Okay. Is that Stevie Y?
No, it's a Wayne Gretzky moment.
Wayne Gretzky? Well, he's playing for the Blues that year, wasn't he? Or no?
No. He scored his 10th playoff hat trick of his career, which is still an NHL record. In the New York Rangers 5-4 win at Philadelphia in Game 2.
He was already moved on to the Rangers. Okay.
Dude, his 10th playoff hat trick.
That's absurd.
That is a remarkable number.
And in that era...
It happened on this day, by the way.
At that point in hockey history, it's infinitely harder than when he had his first probably 6.
Right.
Because goals were just so impossible to come by.
Yeah, so on this date... this is not how I intended the date segment of the show to go, but I'm glad we're doing it because it's kind of funny. I didn't remember the 2004 Randy Johnson on this date. I didn't remember the Clippers winning the first overall pick in the 2009 lottery. Who gives a damn? And I did not remember this. Wayne Gretzky scoring the 10th playoff hat trick of his career. Still an NHL record. New York Rangers 5-4 win at Philadelphia in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
I'll venture a guess, unless they outlaw the goalie, that's going to be safe.
Yeah.
Like, unless they remove the goalie from the ice, I think that record's going to be just fine.
This tomorrow is the date in which John Lester no-hit the Royals after he had been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Talk about emotional. That happened in 2008. Your Mets turned a triple play in 2010 against the Nationals. Do you remember it? Because it's the first ever 8-2-6-3 triple play in Major League history.
8-2-6-3, and it was what year?
2010.
8263.
Were we talking?
I don't even know that I can remember all those players because there was a lot of injuries at those times. So I don't know. Is it Beltran who's in center? Does it say who they are?
It doesn't say who they are, but so you go what? So you're going from
Beltran,
center fielder to catcher.
Schneider, maybe Brian Schneider at that point.
Who's your first baseman?
If Delgado wasn't hurt, it might be him. It could be Ike Davis.
Who's your
it could
shortstop?
be Ike Davis at that point.
Jesus. Who's your shortstop?
I think Reyes. He might have been gone by that point, but it might have been Reyes. No, I think it was because we were still I think it was interning or it was part-time when he won the batting title, and he was still with the Mets. And he sat out the last day?
Yeah.
Like a chicken?
Like
he had a bunt base hit, and then he took himself out. Soft as tissue paper. And also a domestic abuser, apparently.
Not a good guy. 8263. That happened in 2010. See, you didn't remember it. I don't remember it. It was triple play. A significant one.
We turned an around the horn triple play against the Padres. I remember that.
My wife last night, she's harsh. I told the boys, you better be tough. You got to be one thing. You got to be tough because the fact that your mom thinks this is funny. She has held it against Scottie Pippen ever since he held out with the migraine game and then later on wouldn't get off the bench. So, again, keep in mind, my wife had no idea who Scottie Pippen was prior to watching The Last Dance. She has no idea. So she comes into this thing completely objective, watching the Bulls documentary, and she's telling me what she thinks of Jordan, what she thinks of Phil Jackson, Jerry Krause, Jerry Reinsdorf, really every player on that team. But after Pippen missed the migraine game and Jordan slided him, and then Pippen refused to get off the bench, my wife was done. She was done with Scottie Pippen. Mm-hmm. So last night, when Pippen's playing through the back injury, Christy goes, well, of course he's hurt. Soft ass.
You got to be kidding me.
I cracked up. So they cut to Mike, and this time he doesn't take a shot at Scotty. He just says, then I began to realize that he was going to miss time and I was going to have to figure out how to get through this game. But my favorite part is just in the silence as they show Pippen going back to the locker room to get treatment on his back. My wife just utters, well, of course he's hurt in a big game. Soft ass.
Yeah, that is your wife. If you believe that certain traits impact your partner and the way they behave in your life together, then she is most certainly your spouse.
My favorite is both boys just looked over at her like, whoo. Like, don't be soft, boys. Your mother's going to tell you about it. Irashafel, warchant.com, going to join us in a moment.
Angel Pagan was the center fielder. How could I not know that?
That's your hero and you didn't know
I loved Angel Pagan.
Of course he started a triple play.
I'm reading up on it fast. It looks like he might have hit an inside the park home run in the same game.
Angel had himself a night for the ages.
Angel was a good effing player.
I know. You should get a jersey. You love that guy.
I should.
Of course he's hurt. Soft ass.
It's time to head to Cabo's. Cabo's lunch deal menu features a quarter-pound cheeseburger, black bean burger, fried flounder po' boy, or grilled chicken and veggie wrap, plus many more. All include tea or coffee and are just $8.79. Cabo's Island Grill and Bar, located in the Appalachian Parkway Shopping Center.
Come visit the new and exciting Hangar 38. This amazing place is for everyone listening right now. Practice your bowling skills, compete, and have fun. Whether you're a newbie, an all-star, or a beer frame champion, no matter how you roll, you'll find the best place to bowl is at Hangar 38. Hangar 38 is home to over 75 arcade games, so they're sure to have something for everyone. Zeppelin's at Hangar 38 is a premier, full-service restaurant and sports bar, and it's also your place for birthday parties and company outings. Tallahassee, what are you waiting for? Come on out to Zeppelin's Hangar 38, 6668 Thomasville Road behind Walgreens.
AAA Tree Experts has been a Tallahassee staple for over 35 years. But did you know they now offer landscaping? AAA landscaping services include custom outdoor landscape, creative landscape design and architecture, hardscapes, waterscapes, retention walls, and French drains, irrigation and sodding, landscape and holiday lighting. Call them today for all your outdoor landscaping needs. 850-385-3319 or visit them online at AAATreeExperts.net. AAA Tree Experts and Landscaping.
This spring, I'm making Everyday Earth Day by incorporating small actions that can create big results.
Like what?
Well, I'm starting with daily habits. Turning off the lights every time I leave a room, shutting off the tap when I brush my teeth, and unplugging electronics when I'm not using them.
Those are great ideas our whole family can do.
And since we're home more, I could also use your help with a few one-time projects that could benefit us long-term, like fixing water leaks and installing our rain barrel.
I'd love to help. Right after I call the City of Tallahassee Utilities at 891-4968 to sign up for paperless billing.
Excellent! Tonight, let's ask the kids if they have any ideas about what we can do to save energy, water, and money as we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at TLHCanDo.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
With a Bojangles 3-piece Chicken Supreme snack, you get a plate of bold, boneless chicken and a hot, fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit for just $3.99. Or, if you'd rather 2 pieces of bone-in fried chicken with a biscuit and a fixin', don't you worry, because that's $3.99 too. It's such a good deal, you can knock out dinner and balance your budget in one fell swoop. Because if you're going to take out 2 birds with 1 stone, they ought to be delicious. Bojangles. It's bow time.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
See, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Stan Van Gundy with us on ESPN Radio. What did you make? I know this had to drive you crazy, of all the people saying on the Last Dance documentary, I wouldn't let us lose. Michael wouldn't let us lose. It wasn't one of the options.
I've always loved that saying in sports. And the one I heard first on The Last Dance was when they were playing Phoenix in the finals, and Charles Barkley said that about himself. I think it was Game 3 after they'd lost a couple. I wasn't going to let us lose. And every time I hear that, I'm saying, so then you decided to let them win the other 4 games? Like you decided I would let us lose the other 4? I've always wondered about some of these things in sports, like, oh, he wouldn't let them lose. Well, wait a minute, they lost X number of games that year. What was his decision in those? I don't get that.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thank you for tuning to it. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you listening to the program. It's our pleasure to be here. By the way, we're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. Also post the show on iTunes upon its conclusion. Thanks to those of you who go back and listen, and for all of you who've been kind enough to rate it 5 stars and share. Other people more readily find the program that way. You can email us, jcs at 979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at jcameron.show. And on YouTube, you can listen to the audio, can't watch the video, but you can hear the show. We're inching closer to returning to video here real soon. Here's what we're wanting to do every Monday. We bring in my good buddy Ira Schoffel, managing editor of WarChant.com. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm good, Jeff. How are you doing?
I'm well, man. I'm doing well. Family's all right? Everybody good?
Yeah, everybody's good, man. We're like everybody else, waiting to see how everything how everything goes as we start to open up things. But yeah, right now everybody's good.
Hey, so I want to get into the story you wrote in a moment on WarChant.com. For those that don't know it, you can find it right now. It's called "Now's Not the Time to Worry About FSU's Recruiting Rankings." I wasn't, but apparently there are people who spend a lot of time very worried about their recruiting rankings. I know Kevin Knowles signs today with Florida State. I'll ask you a little bit about him in a moment and ask you about the article. But first, I wanted to ask you this, because I know you're really plugged in, and we have some same sources and some dissimilar sources, and we all hear buzz. Everybody on the beat does, if we're doing our job. And I know that they've been meeting. I know the athletic department has, the athletic director. I know that they're trying to figure out a way to move forward. They're trying to figure out what the landscape is going to look like come the fall. It does certainly feel like, Ira, as we sit here today, and we know it can change, that they're moving forward anticipating playing football as well as having students back on campus, but in a very different way. They're going to have to look at salary cuts for coaches. I've heard somewhere in the neighborhood of 20%, 25%, somewhere in there. Obviously, it would have to be on a kind of progressive scale, because you don't want to cut 20% of a guy making $50,000 as opposed to somebody making $3 million. So they're going to have to look at it a little bit. But they're talking certainly about limiting air travel for the non-money making sports. Well, that's all of them, save for football and basketball. And then they're looking at models of attendance. They're starting to look ahead to something in the neighborhood of what if Doak is filled at 50% capacity? What if Doak is 25% capacity? What's it going to look like in the fall? Are you hearing those kinds of things, those kinds of conversations?
Yeah, for sure. The specifics on the money for cuts, I haven't gotten super specific with people on that. Just knowing that there's going to be cuts in salaries, and I think I don't, as you said, I think it's hard to do from a blanket standpoint. And a lot of different situations are different. I think what you've seen a lot of schools do, and I assume Florida State will do something similar, is maybe your highest paid coaches are hit a certain way, and then other people are affected a different way. But Florida State's been much more, I guess, not, I wouldn't say reluctant, but they've been apparently taking a more reasoned approach than a lot of schools. A lot of schools have already done what they're going to do. And Florida State's kind of taking a longer time to come up with the final answer. I do think, when you look at travel, there's no question that that's going to be affected. I think that's going to be affected in a lot of sports. Recently, as of this past season, you had teams in non-revenue sports making trips across the country, maybe to Hawaii, different parts of the country, different parts of the world. And I think you're going to see a big reduction in a lot of that, at least in the short term, because it's going to take a while. We did a story last week. John Swofford, the commissioner, spoke, and he was kind of proud of the fact that the payouts to the conference schools this year is going to be 98% of what they budgeted, which is great. That's really good news, except for the fact that really the big hits are going to come in the next year. Right. That all is based on what they made for the vast majority of last year, which was completed before everything got shut down. Really, in the end of the spring, after basketball, the only thing they lost really from a revenue standpoint was men's basketball tournament. After that, everything else is things that just kind of cost money. holding postseason tournaments and softball and some of these other sports that really aren't going to bring in money. And then so they ended up in pretty good shape. But next year, I mean, it's going to be even if they play football, as you said, if it's 50% or less, it's going to be a huge hit, financially. So we haven't even begun to see all the cuts that are about to happen. But like you, I also, hearing everything I'm hearing is positive that they're moving forward. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if FSU has athletes back on campus pretty soon. The NCAA is going to decide this week how soon they're going to let athletes come back to campus and start doing organized workouts. But I think it's going to be sooner than later.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it. I spent the first part of the discussion with one of my sources and then also kind of contemplated this afterwards, thinking about how sad it is that certain sports are just going to be devastated. Certain sports, I mean, there's just no way. They're not viable economically, and without football bringing in the lion's share that they normally do, how does a non-revenue sport and I'm not picking on any particular sport, but I mean, we're all grown-ups here. We understand FSU's not making any money off the swimming program. They're not particularly strong in it. Again, I don't want to sit there and target a bunch of stuff, but I mean, gosh, you got to believe that sports like volleyball and swimming and to some extent golf and others are going to just be devastated by this because they do host tournaments and travel to tournaments and they recruit all over the world. Obviously, the international athlete in those sports is very important. Krikorian has really fueled his program by bringing in those kinds of players who dominate internationally and come to Florida State and lead them to the to national championships in the Final Four. So I worry for those sports, but at the same time, I'm very encouraged by the fact that conversations are happening now that barring any unforeseen setbacks, and it could happen, this is all something we monitor on a weekly basis, but it looks like they're making plans for the fall that resembles something of the ordinary, which is to say football will be played.
Yeah, and I think that, from the long-term standpoint, that's everybody, no matter what sport you're a part of on campus, you got to be pulling for that because the quicker that comes back and you kind of pass these hurdles of okay, they practiced without any problems. Okay, they played some games and maybe they had limited fans or no fans, whatever it was, whatever it's going to be, and then every step it expands, getting back to a place where football brings in a lot of money again. But in the meantime, we saw Bowling Green cut baseball last week. You're not seeing any power. You're not seeing any of the Power 5 type programs cutting a lot of sports yet. But it's going to be on the table. As you said, then it becomes a question of okay, if you're going to keep offering the sport, maybe it looks different. Maybe you're not recruiting internationally. Maybe you're not recruiting. You're not trying to be a top 5 program or top 15 program in every sport. Maybe you're offering the sport, but you're not, trying to compete at the highest level. But then, the other side of that is, what happens if you tell a Mark Krikorian, and I'm not saying they've done this, but if you tell a Mark Krikorian, that, hey, we don't want you to recruit internationally, well, maybe this isn't where he wants to be. And again, these are all hypotheticals, but I'm just saying that's where you go down the road of, once you change what these programs have become accustomed to and what these programs are and what your vision is as an athletics program.
And it's a lot to digest and it's a lot to think about and speculate about. And as soon as I start doing that, I start thinking, well, let's just wait. Let's just wait and see what happens. It doesn't do you much good because you're right. You can foresee scenarios that are disastrous for any number of programs. But again, we don't know how things are going to change day to day, week to week, month to month. So as of right now, kind of just look at this and say, hey, at least they're talking about games being played in the fall and students being back on campus. Let's turn the page to what you wrote about, which was team recruiting rankings. I joked with you at the beginning there. I really wasn't too concerned about it. To me, the great shift in recruiting that people want to see and that will likely happen will only happen in terms of an uptick of 5-star recruits saying yes and more people wanting to come play here is when the product on the field improves. We can talk a lot about the energy that comes with a new coaching staff and previous successes, etc. But the truth is, people have heard that. They heard that before Willie Taggart coached a game here, that, hey, look, things are going to be different now. Jimbo had given up on the program. He was guilty of a dereliction of duty, stopped recruiting, etc. Where do you see the recruiting uptick? Well, that's all washed away if you don't win games, and that's what happened to Coach Taggart. And a lot of people want to believe that this staff is going to be the right staff, Mike Norvell and this group. I tend to think they will be. I think we've seen some evidence of it. But in truth, you got to play the games, and you got to look better on the field to see a serious uptick in recruiting. That said, they did get a commitment today from Kevin Knowles.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think what's compounded things a little bit from a perception and frustration level for some fans is, we haven't even had they got shorted on the opportunity to get excited about the spring. So if the spring had happened, not just 3 practices, if you had another 2 or 3 weeks of the spring, then I think that's kind of more opportunity to, they're reading stories, they're hearing interviews, they're watching, highlight clips. There's something going on to kind of get them excited. Instead, we've just had kind of 2 months of kind of silence when it comes to, for the most part, the program. So, and then when you see other programs recruiting and getting commitments and getting kids that you might have been interested in, Florida State might have been interested, and it was kind of a rough stretch just last week where there were a couple of offensive linemen they were really recruiting that committed to Auburn, an offensive line transfer who went from Florida back down to Miami. So it's just kind of a combination of not having much positive happening and then seeing other schools recruiting well. But the point I was trying to make in the column is other coaches in their second or third or fourth years, there's more substance there for them to sell. Even if they weren't super successful, maybe those kids have been on those campuses, they've been around the coaching staff. A lot of the kids at Florida State's recruiting, and they've gotten commitments from kids who haven't really been on campus much. The kid Hunter Washington, who committed last week at the defensive back, is a guy who hadn't really been on his visits yet. So, they're, and I think they're not really pushing to get a lot of these kids committed right now because, like you said, who knows what's going to happen once they see the product on the field? Things can change. So, it's not everybody that's worried about it, but certainly enough people. We've gotten so many questions about it that I felt like it was a good time to kind of put something out there about it.
Well, and I get it because I understand that in order for this program to find some consistency and gain traction, they got to raise the floor. They've got to infiltrate this locker room with really good football players and find ways to improve what they have while doing it. But when you're ranked behind Minnesota or you're ranked behind Iowa or you're ranked behind Maryland, if you're ranked behind, Virginia, Boston College, Virginia, Cincinnati, Rutgers, you're behind a lot of people that it would, just to see the names, it would absolutely startle you. I mean, in no world should Florida State ever not be able to out-recruit Iowa State, Boston College, SMU, Pitt, Rutgers, aforementioned teams. You can go on and on. Hell, I saw one where Florida State's right there in the same vicinity as Kansas. What are we doing? People flip out about that, but I don't look at it as kind of the final tally.
Oh, for sure. And, 2-3 months ago, before the, coronavirus and the shutdown and everything, they weren't doing really well. I mean, if you looked at that point, they had finished the first class in pretty good shape, the 2020 class, in short order, and then got some transfers in. And then they had that 1 week in February where they got quarterback Luke Altmaier committed.
Yep.
He's a 4-star guy. And then also Brandon Jennings, a big-time linebacker out of Jacksonville. And at that point, Florida State really had a lot of momentum, and things were trending in the right direction. And I think March and April were going to be huge for them because they had so many kids planning to come on visits, and then they all got shut down.
Yeah.
And so now they're in this waiting pattern. I just, again, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but they've kind of had a lot of things line up against them in terms of recruiting. But like you said, they got the kid, Kevin Knowles, committed today out of Hollywood MacArthur, which is a good program. They play a high level of football down there, and he's only a 3-star prospect according to Rivals right now. But I have a feeling that's going to go up. He had a lot of offers from the Miamis and Alabamas and Georgias and really some of the best teams in the country. So another nice. But it's only the 7th Whereas, you look at some schools that have 14, 15,
10, 12, 14.
18 or 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned there's a reason for some of this, too, in that the evaluation process, you mentioned he's a 3-star, you think that'll go up. It's more difficult right now. And you and I were talking off the air that, no camps for these kids to attend, that they get a better look at them, and coaches visiting, not evaluating. It's a difficult time right now to really know where a kid's at.
Yeah, 100%. Usually the spring, it's just a big time for, because these kids are coming off their junior seasons. The kids are recruiting for 2021, and a lot of times, high school coaches, that's what when they go out in the spring, they make their evaluations. They're making offers now, but a lot of times, it's offers off of film. They're not actually getting out there to see how much they really like the kids, and it's also off of conversations they have with coaches. And then, from Rival standpoint or the other outlets, usually that we get out and we do a spring tour. Like for our site, Michael Langston goes out and he'll go out and watch practices. Rivals has, people go out, I'm sure the other networks do too, and they'll watch practices and observe kids, and that affects rankings. Everything's kind of been on hold. So, they're trying to do what they can off of film, but it's not the same level. So I think what you're seeing, the evaluations you're seeing for players right now, I think are going to change dramatically. For example, Florida State offered a kid last week, a tight end out of Huntsville, Alabama, and he's barely. I don't think he's rated. I'm not even sure if he has a star rating. And he's got like 26 offers at this point. He's just a guy that's he blew up late. He's not a guy that was real active on social media and all of that kind of stuff. And but he's very highly recruited. Florida State wants him. A lot of other schools do too. So. I think you're going to see a lot of that with this class, where kids maybe, schools are offering kids and taking commitments from kids that maybe don't look like they're rated as highly as you would normally think.
Appreciate the insight, my brother, as always. Great conversation. I'll talk to you real soon. Be well.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
All right, take care. That's Ira Schoffel, warchant.com. A capper on that real quick is, and Ira referenced it in his article, Coach Norvell still hasn't been face-to-face with a lot of the prospects that they're trying to recruit for this class. But also, if you think about the fact that Norvell and his staff, the fear that we had was that it was a little bit different. They were coming at it from a different place. They didn't have really, the ties. He didn't, the ties to the state of Florida. And relationships were going to have to be built. And there was an immediacy to the need, right? You thought, okay, well, we're taking a guy who hasn't really recruited down here and gotten to know the high school coaches in the state. Hence, he addressed them in his opening statement about how much he looked forward to meeting all of them and working with them and letting them know what he was all about. And he thanked them for all that they do.
Then he made the tour around the state at hotels where he said, all right, anybody who wants to come have a free beverage or two, maybe some appetizers, let's talk. Yeah, he did that as well to try and ingratiate himself on the curve.
Yeah, so you're in a situation where that was already a hindrance. That was already something they were going to have to overcome, but you didn't predict a pandemic that was going to put a wrench in the works, man. You've got a problem.
There's plenty to worry about, and it's well documented, but I think the good thing here, there is a positive. This is a coach, and he's got a staff of coaches that have been on lesser-than programs who have had to develop and have an eye for talent, taking a lesser-rated player and turning him out and turning him into something that could be drafted at the mid-level of the NFL draft, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round pick. He's done it before. So he's got an eye for projecting maybe a kid who isn't ready-made, but somebody that they can turn into, a diamond in the rough of a class. He's going to have to do that here. He's going to have to do that here.
There's no doubt.
He would have had to anyway.
I still think there's talent here that was not being developed, was not given the opportunity to put their best foot forward. They weren't put in a position to succeed. I think they probably got down, maybe went through the motions there. After things start to go south, it gets real easy to do that. So I guess what I would say is that there's a chance to see some players who haven't exactly shined that we once thought very highly of under this staff. They may have that opportunity to rise to that level of expectation. It just hasn't happened yet. So if you get that, then you're already raising the floor. Now you develop guys That's another way to improve your program. And then you have a little bit of that success and growth over the course of a season that people, it's tangible. They can see it. Now you create momentum and recruiting begins to shift. It's just that when you're, for lack of a better term, trying to kind of flip a program, you're usually starting at a place where the program is broken. You're not just humming along.
Yeah, the hard part here is the competition level. Now, thankfully, the ACC isn't what it was in 2014, or else we might be having a real conversation, like a real problem, because that was more of a loaded conference. Right now, it's Clemson, and then it's wide open. But the good thing about Coach Norvell that's different from Coach Taggart is he's got tape of kids that were projects considered by the ranking services.
Sure.
Projects, 2-star and 3-star players that not many people wanted. And he says, look at what I did with this player by featuring him in my offense. And I can tell you everything about this offense, forwards and backwards. Would you like to hear? Because this is the proof. The proof is in what we've done. And this is how much he's making this year. Being drafted in the 4th round of the NFL draft. From a 2-star player to 4th round of the NFL draft through my system. How about you as a blue chipper? What do you think you can do if I can do this with somebody who doesn't have the talents that you do?
Well, and I have no doubt once he gets out there and he's able to meet these kids and the conditions in which their recruiting shift and are more normalized, whenever that may be, that he will succeed. I think the guy is highly motivational. He's highly focused and intense in a good way. He's got a story that they can connect to. There's no question that he has that. So I believe that momentum will shift greatly. Now, look, in the interim, you sit around and you wring your hands and you worry, and it's all, I think, fair. I mean, they're not likely going to be a great football team this year. Okay. I mean, this year really is a big deal, though, is how you lose games, how you win games, what you look like in week 7 as opposed to week 2. I mean, these are all telltale signs of potential and growth and obviously coaching. So you got to see how the season plays out.
If you're in the upper 10% across coaches in your conference at being organized, efficient, and prepared, you might stand to gain from this type of situation, because those wrinkles, those flaws and warts are going to be exposed.
Yeah,
across this conference for coaches who aren't buttoned up all the way through.
I'm getting excited. I got to settle down. I'm getting pumped up about football, and there's a lot between this time and that time.
It's coming. Allow yourself.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Gunslingers walked out in the street and one said, I don't want to fight no more. And the other gunslinger thought about it.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Barry knows school, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows school, you can put him to the test.
Your home has been a place of great comfort. We can help you keep it that way. Barano Heating and Air is helping you get ready for summer with $1,500 off select new units, 0% financing for qualified buyers, plus worry-free maintenance plans. Learn more or schedule online at baranoac.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air today. Florida license CAC 1816186.
It's time to unite Tallahassee. After years of our great local restaurants serving us, it's our turn to serve them. With this simple purchase of gift cards, we can help them survive the financial toll of COVID-19. Buy them for yourself, your family, or as gifts. No doubt we'll all have a reason to go out and celebrate soon as we safely can. Go to hungertohelp.com and show your support for the heart of our community today. This message brought to you in part by your local Tallahassee radio broadcasters.
The Florida Lottery has awarded nearly 900,000 Bright Future scholarships and counting. That means Bright Future scholars are everywhere.
They are doctors,
Teachers,
scientists,
even artists.
They are shining in every field imaginable. And every day, more students are preparing for their moment in the spotlight. With Bright Futures and the Florida Lottery.
You've known for a while now that the best place to grab lunch in downtown Tallahassee is Metro Deli. But did you know that Metro Deli is now offering its own online grocery list? That's right. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to check out all of the best offerings of meats, cheeses, breads, egg salad, tuna salad, signature dishes, and more from your friends at Metro Deli. Metro Deli, more than just a lunch shop, now your corner deli market. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to support those who support local hospitality workers during the COVID-19 crisis.
Escúchame, y dice Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Let me tell you, I feel badly for Larry Jordan. I mean, first of all, your brother's Michael Jordan. Second of all, your name's Larry. Like, there aren't very many names, Stugotz, that I could give you. Larry Jordan has appeared for like 7 seconds in this documentary, and I'm sure they talked to him for hours, but that's what it's like, being Larry Jordan.
His entire life.
It's got to be terrible, right? I mean, I guess it's great if you got a good relationship with your brother.
Did Jordan have anything nice to say about Larry Jordan?
I didn't hear anything nice about Larry Jordan. I was just surprised Larry Jordan got dressed up, did the interview. I'm sure spent a lot of time talking to them, and then they used 2 very short clips that merely allowed me to look at him and say, man, it must stink to be Michael Jordan's brother and be named Larry.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Appreciate my man Ira Chaffel joining us. WarChant.com. Again, the website. Go back. Find that story about the recruiting predicament that Coach Norvell and his staff find themselves in currently. Segueing here to something that at the end of last night's episode got me thinking of The Last Dance, I should say. And that is the experience. I also read an article this morning about the experience. Ben Aronson wrote the article of buying Jordans, buying the shoes. And I was thinking about it last night because there was a certain pair he was wearing that caught my eye that I remember having. And I remember being excited about getting those. I'm one of those kids, the generation of kids that got excited by Air Jordan, by buying the shoes, I was excited with the original Converse ones. I had the Birds, the black Converse that he wore. And at my school, you either had those or you had the Magic Johnson ones, which were purple and gold. I can vaguely remember the others. I can remember some of the sneaker war stuff that was documented in this series. But basically, that was all obliterated when Jordans became the only shoe that you wanted to have. You didn't even have to like Michael Jordan. Didn't have to like the Bulls anyhow to want to get those shoes. They were just the coolest looking. It involved a huge step forward for the sneaker industry in terms of the technology of the shoe, everything about those shoes. The early ones are pretty heavy, pretty clunky, like all the shoes were at that time. But it didn't take long for them to really master the craft of making this shoe, the basketball shoe. Soon they fit better. They were more malleable. Everything about them seemed better, and thus they were priced that way as well. But I thought about this because I was trying to explain it to my kids. You had to go, and you don't anymore, certainly, you had to go to the mall. You went to the mall to get your shoes, and I was thinking that's not a thing anymore. You walked into that mall, and it makes me laugh because I was looking at some of the stores back then at Tyrone Square Mall. I was looking at the Sam Goody. I was looking at with the arcades, just the arcades alone, which we've had that discussion where you're like, right when you walked in, Aladdin's Castle or wherever it was, whatever the brand was that you had. But I remember that elicited a certain response that I became nostalgic for last night. Like, there were smells of the mall, the food court, of course.
Yep. Yeah, the Cookie Depot.
Oh,
remember
man,
that?
I forgot about the Cookie Depot, yeah. But you had ice cream shops. You had Sparrow Pizza was in every one of them.
Auntie Anne's Pretzels.
Oh, yeah. But you could get a waft of that as soon as you walk through those mall doors. And I remember we always went in this one entrance. I don't know why we didn't go in any of the other, like the Moz Brothers or J.C. Penney's entrance. We went into the front entrance of Tyrone Square Mall, where immediately on your left, you were overwhelmed with a wave of electronics, just sensory overload of just beep, 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 sounds, and you could not only would you hear it immediately, but you could see the reflections of the lights flying off all the screens in that arcade, and you could see which kids were there consistently every time you went. Oh, there's that kid I beat in wrestling last month. He's always there. Maybe he lived near there. Maybe he just took the bus, because back in those days, parents just let you hop on a bus and go wherever the hell you wanted. We did. I would get on the bus all the time, get the transfer, make my way all the way out there. It's crazy to do that.
I never did public bus routinely until I got to college.
Oh, we public bussed all the time in the 80s, buddy. And we would jump. My parents would be like, okay, you're going to get on the bus? Yep. Well, you're going to have to go to Bartlett Park and get a transfer, and then you're going to have to go. I'm like, yeah, no, we know. We know where we're going. And me and my brother John would go on the bus. It was independence, the likes of which we had never had. It was so cool. And we would get on that bus, and we had the same spot we sat where we could laugh and, just yuck it up and have a good time towards the back. We loved it. And then we would get off that bus, and right when we got let out, it felt so liberating to leave that bus and to know that you had no parental supervision, no adults really anywhere in charge of you. You could just go do what you were going to do. And we would walk in, and the two places I had to go every time were the record store, of course. I'd spend hours in there. John would get pissed. Even back then, he'd be, "What? You're not buying a record today. What are you going to go look at?" I go, "I want to look at the albums. I want to look at them." You never know. They could have gotten that double live in from whatever.
Well, did you, in those days, to be kind,
days, yeah.
Did they have little headphones, like community headphones?
No.
Oh, they did when I was a kid.
No, you couldn't.
Like E7, and then you get to hear on these awesome headphones the latest from whatever artist you wanted to hear.
I remember when that happened. I remember, I think I was in Bananas Records, might have been there in Tampa.
Barnes & Noble had that too in their music department.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble didn't exist when I was a kid, so it didn't. That was there. There was no Barnes & Noble, but you're right, they did. And I loved it. I remember thinking, okay, well, get the sample. That's nice. I've heard this band's good. Keith told me, but Keith's been a little shaky. So let me double check on this by listening to a few songs. I remember when that happened, but it didn't exist when I was a kid. You would just go in and look. A lot of times, I'll be honest with you, you bought albums based on reputation, and you bought albums based on album covers. I think Iron Maiden, half their catalog was purchased by kids who just thought that was the coolest drawing they'd ever seen. It's entirely possible. I mean, it helped that as metal bands went, they were good. But, I mean, just seeing the Iron Maiden covers alone. I remember the first Slayer cover I ever saw. I was like, oh, this is unsettling. What's going on with these guys? You were intrigued. You're like, there's some stuff going on in here. I don't know about all this. But anyhow, we would go into the record store. I would always want to start there, and he'd be mad because you have to bypass Aladdin's Castle in order to get to the record store. And he'd say, why are we going to do that? I said, no, we're going to save the games for last. And being that I was the older, bigger, stronger brother, he really didn't have a choice. We were going to go do this, and that's how that went.
So he'd have to stand in the record store for an hour while you were going through the records.
That is correct.
Jeez.
Well,
you ever spot him a 5 and say, go knock yourself out at the food court or anything?
No, we ate together. We were going to eat together anyhow. So, but he was under strict orders to not leave my sight. Not by me, but by my parents. That was kind of how that went. My stepbrother was not to be roaming off on his own. So, but in those days, whether you were in like a Turtles Records or wherever you were, a Sam Goody, there were lots of things visually to kind of stimulate kids. I mean, they had posters. Every record store, every good record store had, probably 100 deep posters from movies and pop culture and music. And, I remember that's the first time I ever saw Jim Morrison. Like, there was a ton of Doors posters for whatever reason. Led Zeppelin posters. And you go through all those. And then you would go, and there were tapes back then and albums, because there was tapes and albums were the thing, no CDs. and you go through the albums, but you go to the tape section. I remember when that happened. And so he could find things. There were videos. You could try to find what movie you wanted to buy or rent next. So he would spend time. He wasn't just bored to tears. At least that's what I tell myself. I don't think he was bored to tears. And then the glorious walk before going to Aladdin's Castle, always the shoe store, to go look at the latest Jordans.
Well, I was going to say the smells of the fine shoes. That's another great smell in the mall.
It is awesome.
The leather,
you'd just be like, oh,
man.
It would whisk you away to a world. You're like, someday, any shoe in there.
Well, and the fine shoe stores obviously had the hardwood floors too, so you get the nice little mix.
It was
awesome.
awesome.
That was Westfield, aka Countryside Mall, did have that.
They did,
mm-hmm. And they had Mr. D's pipe tobacco. That was in the corner by, I think it was the J.C. Penney, second floor. But Mr. D's pipe tobacco had the greatest smells in the world. I'd walk by it and think of my grandfather.
My stepdad, I told you, the attorney, smoked a pipe, and he would get the flavored, the flavored tobacco, and it was the most rich smell. I couldn't wait for him to light up his pipe. You're right. Going by the old tobacco stores. You talk about irresponsible. I've told you the story that in St. Pete, Albertsons was massive. I mean, it was the first big grocery store, and there was a whole candy section, which is next to the album section, which is next to the tobacco section. They're all right there. It's like video games, music, candy, tobacco. It was so well placed. And we would sit there and look at that all the time. By the way, I'd also make him go into the Walden Books. Do you remember Walden Books?
Sure. There's another place with some good smells. That and the Hallmark store. If you ever needed to go shopping for your mom, you get a little something for her desk, and you go get the Happy Mother's Day card. Yep. They always had the scented candles. Absolutely.
I forgot about Babbage's.
Babbage's and EB, man. The two game stores. Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I mean, I was one of the first ones to come along.
Babbage's was always more expensive than EB in Countryside Mall. EB was on the first floor by the ice rink in the middle.
I remember that.
And then Babbage's was on the second floor, and it was, I think, usually like $3 to $5 more per game.
Do you remember KB Toys?
Absolutely. KB Toys was right in my wheelhouse. I'm sure they partnered with Home Alone and the other movies we watched as kids, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that stuff. Yeah, got to be KB Toys.
I remember going with a girl in high school. I think I was 16 years old, and it was a big deal if we went to the mall and I had to take her to the Limited. Like, girls loved the Limited.
Yeah, I remember the name of that. Yeah.
And then also there was Structure. Do you remember Structure?
Was that like the goth store?
No, it was a men's clothing store, but it was usually by the Limited, and it was, I don't know. They had jackets, I remember that.
Man, no, my generation, like the Gap was the thing.
The Gap was?
The Gap, absolutely. Old Navy wasn't around, or wasn't as big just yet, but the Gap, and then they had Gap Kids and Baby Gap, and they were all right next to each other with a clean glass storefront. The very 90s, like minimalist looking thing, white bare walls.
Yep.
Yeah.
B. Dalton bookstore.
Don't remember that one.
Gadzooks.
Oh, I remember Gadzooks.
Gadzooks,
yeah, man. They had the trading card stores too.
Yes, they did.
Those were always like on an individual mall basis. You didn't really have too many chains of those. But it always was the guy with the ponytail. That's where the Simpsons nailed it. You go to the comic book / like trading card, sports trading card store. The guy always did have a ponytail.
You're right, he did. And I was thinking about those things I was thinking about all those places last night that you got to experience when you went to the mall to buy your Jordans. And I would spend I must have pissed off the people in the mall who worked at the various shoe stores, because if you went into a Foot Locker or whatever you went into, sitting there and staring at the Jordans in front of everybody for like 30 minutes, all these shoes you couldn't buy or you needed your mom's help to buy at the very least. For whatever reason, we'd spend a good amount of time just staring at them longingly, and those poor guys would come up and go, "Can I help you?" And the answer is, of course not. I'm a broke kid. I just want to look at the shoes.
And you do the same lap like 5 times, and it just didn't make any sense.
But we did that.
Yeah. See, I never did shoe stores in the mall, though, because the Sports Authority was around by the time I was 9, 10 years old. And the Sports Authority, you walk in. I remember when it closed here in Tallahassee when I was an undergrad. It was a sad day.
Yeah.
It was attached to the mall. And the smell of the Sports Authority when you walked in there, it was a combination of like the clean tile floors, the shoes, baseball gloves, pool equipment, What an amazing smell that was.
I miss that. I miss Electronics Boutique. I miss all those places that had signature either sights, sounds, or smells. They all did.
I loved Spencer's. It doesn't always have a smell associated with it.
They're still around.
They are.
Spencer's are still around.
I always, for Jamie's birthday, I always stop by Spencer's to get something. Just something goofy and inappropriate.
Well, that's all that's there.
Right. But, I mean, as a kid, it was like I wasn't supposed to go into Spencer's. My parents were like, hey, you're not going into Spencer's. You see some things that you can't unsee. And what does that mean? What does that mean? You go to Spencer's every chance you get just to laugh your butt off or to be like, whoa, what is this magazine?
I don't remember Wicks and Sticks. Do you remember Wicks and Sticks?
Is it like a Things Remembered candle store
It's
or
a
something?
big candle store, yeah. It's like a Things Remembered, yeah.
My sisters, man, they all worked at the mall.
Somebody suggested Wicks and Sticks.
The Gap, Auntie Anne's, Things Remembered. I mean, yeah, man. That's a huge, huge place for kids to get summer jobs.
Man, the malls, kid. They existed back in the day. They really don't anymore. I know we have one in Tally, but
I go there once a year for the birthday gift.
You race in and race out is what you do.
Well, yeah.
I try to spend seconds in that mall, if at all possible. Although I just miss the concept of the mall. Although right now you feel like that's not going to happen.
Also for Director Matthew, because he loves him some chocolate chip cookie cake. And so I do go to the Great American just to smell the old smells of the food court. And you go, I mean, I'm sure I can grab it somewhere else in town, but that's pretty centrally located.
Yeah, it makes you smile. Makes you smile.
Chocolate chip cookie cake, man. Always like the parents who shelled out for that one. For the,
got excited
schools.
About it, yeah.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go, Mrs. Raven.
So I guess just a salute once again to another aspect of The Last Dance. We say thank you as it ended last night because it gave me a chance to go down memory lane with my brother, thinking about the mall on my way to the shoe store, the various places we stopped and got caught up in. You could spend 6 hours in the mall, 6 hours, and you might have gone to 4 stores. A good 3 hours of that is Aladdin's Castle video game arcade. I mean, most of the time we're in there.
My mom would never let me spend that much time in the mall.
Well, but I'm saying we were on our own.
She worked in the mall, though. She's like, you're not becoming one of those mall people.
Right, mall rats. There's a whole movie based on it.
She called mall people. Because if I wanted to go play video games, I go to Celebration Station. If you wanted to go get shoes, you go to Sports Authority. It was like, there's an answer somewhere else in the mall.
That had advanced by the time you were going. Back in my day, it was all one-stop shop. That's where you went. That's the only place you could go to do that. That's where the arcades were. That's where the shoes were. That's all of it. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hey guys, how are you? This is Eddie from Gordo's Restaurants and Bumpa's Local 349. I just want to let you guys know that we here in the local community love to have you back. It's 25%, we know, but we're doing the best that we can to serve you and do what we do the way we do it. Same great food, a little bit more space. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of local restaurants out there. Just remember, eat local, drink local, be local. Come see us.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336.
You've known for a while now that the best place to grab lunch in downtown Tallahassee is Metro Deli. But did you know that Metro Deli is now offering its own online grocery list? That's right. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to check out all of the best offerings of meats, cheeses, breads, egg salad, tuna salad, signature dishes, and more from your friends at Metro Deli. Metro Deli, more than just a lunch shop, now your corner deli market. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to support those who support local hospitality workers during the COVID-19 crisis.
Gulick and Wingo.
This playing out in the court of public opinion ultimately ends up benefiting no one.
I agree.
Like in the normal course of negotiation, you're right. The ability to go out here. When I first saw that this plan was put out there, I went, I can't believe Major League Baseball would put this plan out because it's going to put the players in the spot where if they push back at all, they appear greedy. Yeah. And that's usually the goal in these things. And now going back the other way, the players, and we'll get to Sean Doolittle among them, bringing up a lot of the health and safety reasons, is the perfect rebuttal of that to bring this and make this about something that's so universally right now understood by people. Will the NBA and the PA look at this and say, you know what, it's probably better if we do all of our planning behind closed doors from now on and don't come to the table until we all agree on something, because there ain't no win with the look we got.
Gulick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I don't know what this world is coming to.
Yes, the rhythm, the rebel. Without applause, I'm lowering my level. The hard rhymer, where you never been, I'm in. You want styling?
I did not know this, but I saw it just a moment ago. Since individual rebounds were first recorded in 1950 to 51, the 97-98 Bulls are the only team to win an NBA championship and not return its playoff leaders in total points, assists, and rebounds the following season. Only franchise to ever do that. And what follows is certainly an example of why you don't choose to do what the Bulls did, because they have been the epitome of sorry ever since they made that decision. I mean, it's rather remarkable going from year to year. You got from 84 to 97, 6 titles, 14 playoff appearances, win shares leaders, 3 head coaches, 4 total. All of that. Since then, 0 titles, a grand total of 11 playoff appearances, and they've had 10 different head coaches. Wow.
They got a little bit unlucky right after. Krause whiffed, I think, on McGrady. I was reading up on some of what happened the next 5 years. They did grab Elton Brand, and they parlayed him into Tyson Chandler. And then they had some injury issues with one of their picks. I think Jamal Crawford was a part of the puzzle as well. And then years later, of course, we all know that, Derrick Rose, when healthy, was amazing, but he just could never get freaking healthy with any consistency. He was MVP caliber. So, yeah, they were always, at least in my college years, kind of a fringe group, but they've never come close to touching the heights.
No, not even sniffing it. Yeah, well, you and I were talking before that they got a little bit lucky in a weird way, at least in terms of backlash, immediate backlash. First of all, they were very different times. If this happened now, they would have gotten beat up publicly the entire summer, because there's just no way you take a group that just got done winning the NBA title for the 3rd consecutive year, 6 in total, with the MVP. Jordan won the MVP. So you have the MVP, and now your GM is forcing him to retire because he won't let Phil Jackson come back. And, the owner is going to acquiesce to the GM? What are we doing here?
Well, there's 2 arguments that could be made here. It's really hard. Would the Bulls have even emerged as a dynasty in the social media era, meaning the late 80s, early 90s, with the unrest there was between Doug Collins and Krause and Tex Winter and Michael Jordan, and then the Jordan-Pippen dynamic? Can you be a Batman and a Robin in a social media age for that long? Pippen signs the deal. I mean, how many things would have gone wrong before they even get to the second three-peat? in this day and age where everything is second guessed and free agency is as real as it is.
It's a different set of challenges. That's actually fun to kind of have a conversation about, because when you watch documentaries like this, whether it's about the Bulls and Michael Jordan and that dynamic, or all the way back in the 60s when you're looking at Jim Brown or wherever you're looking, you realize how things would have transpired differently. Individual sports, you think about Muhammad Ali, things would have been very different in the social media era. This was the way he held court would have elicited a huge response, many of it negative, much of it negative, in a way that now is overwhelming. And in fact, it affects all media too. It affects what we do here. It affects, social media does, that is to say, whether we're even cognizant of it in the moment, because what ends up happening on those platforms is a mob mentality, and it's overwhelming. A lot of people think they're mentally prepared to deal with the kind of backlash that would come from a Jordan Pippen tiff or whatever it might be. In truth, though, in the moment, there's such an immediacy to that gang mentality, and everybody just piles on and piles on and piles on. People break. They end up acquiescing to the will of the masses, and Jordan, who was steadfastly always moving forward, always saying, I don't care what this guy thinks, that guy thinks, I'm here to win. I'm here to kick ass, take names, move on. I don't know. Would that have been affected by all of that outside noise that coaches refer to all the time now?
It's a learned skill. In those days, it was newspaper headlines and columns that were penned, maybe a tell-all book like happened in the middle of that thing. But even on like the small sports radio level, used to be voicemails, maybe letters written to the station. Sure. Then it was emails. Then it's angry message board posts, and now it's Twitter. It all graduates. Like message boards existed for a long time before Twitter, but nobody knew what the message board culture was all about and scale until Twitter came about, Facebook came about, and and comment sections on websites. Remember, all the major websites had comment sections for a long time, and now they're like, the hell with this.
Well, yeah, it's just the dirge of society. It's the worst of the worst, yeah.
Right. But it takes a lot of time and practice to be able to look at that, read it, consume it, especially if they're talking about you and then ignore it. But you can't just do that in the beginning.
It's an acquired skill, and for somebody who's on the back end of the demographic, if you will, like that was startling to me. I remember getting into radio, and you're paid to say to entertain and have an opinion, and I did, and that's what I did every day. I wonder now how I would have been, and I'm small time, but I'm saying I wonder how I would have been affected now. Back then, quote unquote, during the things that I was saying about Coach Bowden and what we needed to do to move forward, there was backlash. I felt it. People called the station. There were people who hated me. I got it. But it was very singular. It was a guy on a Tuesday calling somebody to complain that I was an ass and how dare I say this? Or it was an email or two. Or it was a message board post. When I would read those things, it bothered me because I'd be like, well, they don't even know me. They might disagree with me, and that's fine, but you don't even know me. Come on, let's talk. Let's talk about it. You can't do that in this day and age because it is en masse. It is huge. It is, and so, I don't know, I guess I do wonder what those kinds of comments, the day-to-day.
Put Dennis Rodman on Instagram, Twitter, and see what happens.
What
wouldn't be good.
How that would have affected them. Yeah, absolutely. I still would like to believe that Jordan, who still doesn't give a you-know-what and is so candid, would have just singularly moved forward.
Well, I mean, it might have been that he learned the lesson.
Would have affected his teammates more.
And it could have affected him in college, and then by the time he's out of North Carolina, which would have been after one season, he's totally used to it. But, if anybody in that era could have looked at it the right way, which is it's the internet, it's not real. Like, it might affect a conversation that they have on ESPN, but it doesn't affect me.
It's not a real thing. You're right.
It's not a video of me doing something that would get me in trouble. I don't care. You're inconsequential. He seems to be the type that would be able to go there mentally.
I think he would have been like,
you're inconsequential.
Yeah. I think he felt that way about a lot of people to begin with. So, absolutely, yeah. You had to earn getting inside that trust circle, man. You had to big time. And it was cool to watch last night that Kerr did after that and that they shared that stuff.
And his guy, Gus.
Oh, yeah, big time. Oh, that was sad. Kind of just watching that. You're like, oh, my man. But he loved him some Jordan, and Jordan loved him. Got him the ball and everything else.
Gus looked like he shared something in common with Jordan, which is he could give you one sentence that would level you to your core. Gus looked like he could deliver that kind of thing where you go, ooh, Ouch, Gus, how did you know?
You went straight there.
That's how you get me.
You want to hurt a joker. Yeah. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Again.
One, two, three, and to the four.
Seminole Headlines Podcast Edition is presented to you by the Morgan Law Group, representing the policyholder, going after the insurance companies. Offices, Miami, Orlando, Naples, and Panama City. Online at policyadvocate.com.
Hey, everybody, it's good news, and we could use some good news right about now. Getting family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Bumpa's, well, it's easy to do, and it's all day, every day. You're going to want to pay with a credit card, bring your own PIN to sign the receipt, and they want to thank you, so do I, for supporting your local restaurants when they need it most. By the way, if you call, it's 850-999-8652. And here's Rick Pitino to give you the menu items.
Pasta alla vodka. You get chicken, garlic bread, and it's a nice round price. Secondly, you got 20 wings. You got chicken fingers too, fries, onion rings on the side. Nice, also good for the family of 4. 2 racks of ribs with mac and cheese and broccoli. You could sub in some fries or rings if you want instead too, but those racks of ribs, absolutely delicious. Just beautiful.
Or you can order, Rick, from the regular menu. It's Bumpus349.com.
The whole shebang. Tallahassee's tastiest jumbo wings are back in force. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill is now open daily from 4 to 9 p.m. for all your takeout needs. Enjoy an all-day, everyday special of 10 wings and a basket of fries for just $10. Plus, have the Corner Pocket make you a signature to-go beer or liquor beverage as well. Red Russians, anybody? Just call 574-2724 for your wing order today. That's 574-2724 for the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Or to stop by and order in person, please use the outdoor deck. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket. You've known for a while now that the best place to grab lunch in downtown Tallahassee is Metro Deli. But did you know that Metro Deli is now offering its own online grocery list? That's right. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to check out all of the best offerings of meats, cheeses, breads, egg salad, tuna salad, signature dishes, and more from your friends at Metro Deli. Metro Deli, more than just a lunch shop, now your corner deli market. Head to MetroDeliTally.com today to support those who support local hospitality workers during the COVID-19 crisis.
AAA Tree Experts has been a Tallahassee staple for over 35 years. But did you know they now offer landscaping? AAA landscaping services include custom outdoor landscape, creative landscape design and architecture, hardscapes, waterscapes, retention walls, and French drains, irrigation and sodding, landscape and holiday lighting. Call them today for all your outdoor landscaping needs. 850-385-3319 or visit them online at AAATreeExperts.net. AAA Tree Experts and Landscaping.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
So this is how it happens, all right? It's a celebrity poker tournament, and if you thought to yourself that John Hamm enters a chat room with ham bone in the house, you'd be correct. I show up at the table. Cards are being dealt, but there's only one person betting. So what's happening is, as this moves around the table and everyone's time runs out, Stugotz just keeps getting the money. Every time he bets, the money comes from Stugotz. So he's slowly bleeding people who are having trouble getting in the room. And I'm on the Skype, and I'm watching these people, and they're saying, I'm trying to get in, I can't get in. And I'm yelling at Stugotz in the chat room, Stugotz, stop taking everybody's money. We don't know these people. And Stugotz's chip total ended up at 12,000 before the thing even got started, while everyone else was starting at 8,000 because he'd stolen so much of their money. And he still finished last.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
All programs. This is Radio Clash on Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Good to be with you. Happy to be with you. Thanks for joining us. Let's enjoy the conversation, shall we? We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free always. If you miss stuff, it happens. Go back, get caught up at your leisure. We'll post all 3 hours of the program onto iTunes as well as in the audio vault on our webpage. Thanks for the rate, review, share. Helps others find the program, certainly. You can email us if you like, jcs@979espnradio.com. On Twitter, it's at @JCameron Show. Still utilizing the WTSM app some. And also the YouTube feed up and running. No video, just audio. We're getting close, though. I think soon we'll be back to doing video, probably in the next couple weeks, certainly.
At least some of the time, yeah. I would think.
I would think so.
So you're putting me in the room with the director. That's the thing. See, it's easy for you, pal.
Well, I mean, he'll be in the building. We're all going to run across him.
If he sneezes, I'm going to say, get the hell out of here.
He's going to have to wear a mask in there with you. Fast forward 3 years from now, he's still mandated to wear a mask at all times.
Oh, well, listen.
He's a sneezosaurus to begin with.
This is why. It's not necessarily about the fear of everybody and everything. It's that, in particular, this person does sneeze a lot.
Oh, he loves it. He embraces the sneeze.
Yes, he does. Yeah. He's a tri-sneezer. He's not even a dual sneezer. He's a tri-sneezer.
Well, unfairly, we're projecting as if he could help it, but it does feel like sometimes it's intentional.
But no, well, he knows. He knows. He does a pretty good job of, within the segment, containing himself. But then there are times when I'll hit the music, turn off the mic, and it's just like, oh, my God.
You're just wearing it.
The levee breaks.
All right, so we kind of began today's show, to recap here a little bit, talking about some of the murmurs coming from Florida State. And we're talking about the structure. We're talking about the fall. We're talking a little bit about where they're at, what they're trying to piece together. And, you know, there's a new normal at universities across the country right now, and they're trying to figure out ways to save money, to cut money, but yet still participate, compete, have their different programs go out and do what they do. But it's more difficult right now. You have travel restrictions. You have real concerns about the budget. You know, the idea of going to play somewhere across the country certainly seems like that is eliminated for now, that unless you're football, and even then right now it's difficult. But most of the other programs I don't think are on their way out to play USC anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. And we do know that they're meeting about this. Everybody's got sources. I've got sources. You do too. A lot of the people in the on the beat, certainly talking to a lot of other people, just trying to figure out, well, what do we got? What are we looking at? What do we know? And we knew all along tough choices were going to have to be made. And I think that you're going to start with something in the neighborhood of a 20% salary cut for coaches. Maybe it's not that way for all of them, certainly for the ones that make more money, lots of money, as in millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. They'll have to take that kind of a cut. I don't know that they know specifically how it's going to work or what they've decided as a final idea, but I know I've heard the idea of sort of a progressive percentage. You think about a progressive tax. If you make more money, you have to suffer the consequences in terms of what you give back. And that way, a guy making $50,000 a year in the coaching staff is not suffering from the same sorts of cuts as the person that is making, I don't know, $3 million.
Right. We want your 20% of your 50 grand. Well, that changes where I can live.
That changes whether or not my family can eat.
I'm going from like house to 1-1.
Yeah. So the lesser paid coaches will not pay the same percentage. It'll be a progressive sort of thing, and that makes some sense. We do know they're going to have to. I'm speculating here, but we hear all kinds of rumors that they're going to have to really limit air travel for the non-money making sports, which are virtually all of them. The bottom line here is you've learned that everything relies on football, and you knew that already, but it becomes abundantly clear when there's talk of no football season, the damage that would be done to the non-revenue sports, as in, would they even exist moving forward? So, to be honest, if you're ahead of the swim team, I'm worried for you. I understand you can't cut scholarships, you got Title IX implications, but universities are reshuffling the deck and taking a good long look at what costs them money, what doesn't, maximizing profits. Maybe you limit and you restrict where you can travel, if you can travel. Certainly when you look at recruiting budgets, things change. If you're a non-revenue sport, the days of flying over to Europe to look at the latest prospect probably going to be eliminated. I imagine that's even true in money-making sports like basketball. Good luck going to see the Lithuanian kid who can really play. I mean, that's all this stuff. I'm speculating, but we know it's on the table. We know they're talking to the individual coaches, their staffs, those programs, especially the non-revenue programs, about changing the way we go about competing, changing the way we do business.
I would think that's going to be largely restricted on a federal level anyway, or an international level anyway. So you just get out in front of it. But yeah, we have a lot of programs that use the international talent pool in order to advance.
Is a good one.
Krikorian, he whoops ass in that regard.
Well, let's hope that reputation and the successes that have transpired over the last several years with the use of foreign-born players has set up such a reputation and entrenched such a thought in the minds of foreign-born players about a place to be as Florida State. Because of those successes, because of the way that they were treated, because of the good experiences that they've had and spoke publicly about, that if that is limited, he is still able to succeed internationally, because he's made it abundantly clear that he'll take care of you. You want to go play for your international team while we're in the middle of a season? We'll wear some losses for you to go do that.
Sure.
We'll allow for this. We've been more than accommodating. So I would think a lot of those players would then speak on behalf of Coach Krikorian. And that's true of a lot of the programs. I'd throw golf in there and some others.
Yeah, both men's and women's golf, Leonard's program. Yeah, it's just, I think coaches have to learn now how to convey their message and create a bond through Zoom. And it's just, that's so difficult to do. But at least it's across the board. D1. It's not like just Florida State's going to have this issue. I don't think there are very many schools are going to say, yeah, cool, man,
keep it
fly over
going.
to Europe go for 2 weeks. We don't care.
Go out to Sweden.
Charter a jet. Go for it.
Yeah, and then the big news would be that they're really thinking long and hard about what it's going to look like come the fall if they play football. And that's not guaranteed, but I think we are moving in the direction that they're going to play football because they're going to have students back on campus. I think that's where we're headed. Now, the information changes week to week, so it can be altered. These intentions, these plans can be altered on the fly as they need be. But right now, as we start this week on May the 18th, it certainly seems like we're headed towards some form of football in the fall and some form of students on campus. And that leads me to the next part of this, which is models for attendance. They're looking at models for attendance at Doak Campbell Stadium. We know that has come up. I know that has come up. Talked to people that have mentioned that it was brought up. I don't think that the university, the athletic department, believe that they're going to have a full stadium at Doak. Now, I could throw a little cheap shot in there and tell you that they weren't going to have a full stadium either way because they've not been a program of significance for some time.
And behaviors will have changed anyway.
Correct. So a lot of stark realities are going to come home here and slap you across the face in the coming months when the fall rolls around for a lot of programs. A lot of football programs are going to deal with this. Hell, we were having a pretty consistent conversation about waning attendance, even in the mighty SEC, prior to all of this. So, yes, that figures to be exponentially true. But I would say this. If you put the model at 25%, or do you look at a 50%, those are the numbers, the percentages that are being kicked around by the athletic department currently. they're looking at basically, okay, we're going to play games. Obviously, we have a home schedule. How many people can, because you don't want to take a total bath on this. I mean, yes, you're going to make a small portion of what you could have made, but you don't have to make zero. So I think they're looking at, can we put 25% of the attendance, max attendance, into Doak Campbell Stadium? What does 50% look like? How game day operations, what does that look like in the way of being safe, being socially distanced, but also allowing for tailgates and stadium entrance?
Well, and what do you do if you have a family of 6, right? Do you max, put 2 people in a certain area? And so, you can't sit all 6 of you together, but we have chair backs, right? You take the chair backs and you space them out evenly.
Yeah.
And you say, here's where you have to sit. We can see clearly if you are not, so we can enforce it at that point. But, yeah, if you've been sitting with, 3 generations of Knoll fans now for the last 5 to 10 years, sorry, you're going to have to rotate. Because we can't put 6 in a row. That screws up our whole algorithm of how we need to space people out.
It's going to be very, very different to look at. But I think today, what most people will take away from this is, okay, they're having the conversation. They're trying to figure it out, whether it's the money or the percentages or whether or not they're even going to play in the fall. When you're having those kinds of conversations, most people would see that as a boon. Most people would look at that as a buoying force, something that would get you excited that okay, it's not being scrapped. And if it has to be different, then it has to be different. It means my viewing experience is going to change, but I have a viewing experience. So I'll live with whatever drastic changes for a year that we're looking at. And it's going to be a very different looking football season. I think there'll be alterations to the schedule. I don't know how we would go to Atlanta to play a game against West Virginia. I just don't see that happening. It might, but it doesn't seem likely.
Both universities seem plenty interested in doing so, playing each other. It's just a matter of would Atlanta welcome it at that point? And
Georgia's been one to open the doors quick.
At the governor level, sure, but
do you want?
It's one thing to open up your business; it's another to have people from different states roll into yours.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, do you want fans going to that game in the Mercedes Dome? You want to? I mean, what are you going to do there? There's a lot of money to be made there, but
if I'm Chick-fil-A, I got to look at the P&Ls and say how much of our, we're able to pay out Florida State and West Virginia X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, how do we generate that revenue? Is it because of ESPN or is it because of the gate and concessions?
It's both, though.
Right.
They make a lot of money from the gate.
What percentage is what?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll play that game. Maybe. That gives me some measure of hope they'll play the Boise game in Boise.
If anybody can travel, I would imagine it would be the 2 money sports. Football, big piece of the pie. Basketball, significant, but not, huge portion of the pie. And then everybody else, I think you're on your own.
Yeah, you're not, yeah.
For a trip like Boise, ain't no way for anybody else.
I think they'll let football travel. That's the sense I get. I think you have to. But other than that, I don't know.
And we're talking outside of conference play.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, conference play is conference play. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Not all law firms are equal, so here's why Fonville Lewis Mesher McConaughey was recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm. First, we only take real cases. If your car was barely bumped and you think you're going to get rich, we're not the firm for you. We limit our practice to serious cases with legitimate claims. Second, we only take cases involving real injuries. If you know you aren't hurt but think you can fool your way into a quick settlement, we're not the firm for you. We encourage our clients to heal up and get better, not sit on the couch and expect a windfall. Third, we don't want clients who are just in it for the money. If the very first thing you think of after getting hurt is calling pound something or other on your cell phone instead of calling 911, we're not the firm for you. Your health should always come first. And finally, we won't blow smoke about a big money outcome just to get your case. Other firms overpromise and underdeliver. Our only promise is that we'll work harder than anyone to get you the best result. Remember, The law firm you have representing you makes all the difference, so don't settle for less. Call Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey, and let us put our reputation to work for you.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-501-3689 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-501-3689 for your free author submission kit. Again, 800-501-3689.
This spring, I'm making everyday Earth Day by incorporating small actions that can create big results.
Like what?
Well, I'm starting with daily habits. Turning off the lights every time I leave a room, shutting off the tap when I brush my teeth, and unplugging electronics when I'm not using them.
Those are great ideas our whole family can do.
And since we're home more, I could also use your help with a few one-time projects that could benefit us long-term, like fixing water leaks and installing our rain barrel.
I'd love to help. Right after I call the City of Tallahassee Utilities at 891-4968 to sign up for paperless billing.
Excellent! Tonight, let's ask the kids if they have any ideas about what we can do to save energy, water, and money as we celebrate Earth Day at home.
2020 marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and there are many things TLH can do to celebrate at home. Get inspiration at tlhcando.com. Small actions create big results. A message from the City of Tallahassee Utilities.
Know where you can find all your favorite Skechers shoes in one place? Skechers.com. Because at Skechers.com, we have miles and miles of styles of the most comfortable shoes on the planet. We have boys and girls shoes that sparkle and light up. Skechers.com has work shoes, slip-ons, sports shoes, casual shoes, canvas shoes, go walk, go run. The styles are endless. And on Skechers.com, you can find all the fits you need. Plus, so many shoes with Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam. So find all the styles, all the fits, and all the comfort. Only at Skechers.com.
With a Bojangles 3-piece Chicken Supreme snack, you get a plate of bold, boneless chicken and a hot, fluffy, made-from-scratch biscuit for just $3.99. Or, if you'd rather 2 pieces of bone-in fried chicken with a biscuit and a fixin', don't you worry, because that's $3.99 too. It's such a good deal, you can knock out dinner and balance your budget in one fell swoop. Because if you're going to take out 2 birds with 1 stone, they ought to be delicious. Bojangles. It's bow time.
Sí, very intrigued by the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Stan Van Gundy with us on ESPN Radio. What did you make? I know this had to drive you crazy, of all the people saying on the Last Dance documentary, I wouldn't let us lose. Michael wouldn't let us lose. It wasn't one of the options.
I've always loved that saying in sports. And the one I heard first on The Last Dance was when they were playing Phoenix in the finals, and Charles Barkley said that about himself. I think it was Game 3 after they'd lost a couple. I wasn't going to let us lose. And every time I hear that, I'm saying, so then you decided to let them win the other 4 games? Like, you decided I would let us lose the other 4? I've always wondered about some of these things in sports, like, oh, he wouldn't let them lose. Well, wait a minute, they lost X number of games that year. What was his decision in those? I don't get that.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. This is the Jeff Cameron Show. Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Florida State, man, are you even watching recruiting right now? I know people are all worried about it. I saw where Michael Langston noted today. Defensive back Kevin Knowles has committed to Florida State. Was that right? Looks that way. Talented prospect. A lot of people didn't. I guess I'm not really looking into recruiting as much right now because we've had so many other things to think about, right? So many other worries. But Knowles is a safety. He's out of Hollywood, Florida. 5'10", 170 pounds. I think he's a 3-star. But what's interesting is the schools interested on that list: Alabama, Clemson, Florida. Okay.
All right.
I like to read lists that include those teams, especially when it's us beating them out. I haven't been as worried about it right now. I know that recruiting is always something to be worried about, or at least locked into and paying attention to. It's always something that you need to know about. I know we've been incredibly active. I know that we've been making strides. But for me, it's been much more about whether or not we were going to play football this year.
Right, and then
I've just been like, well, what good is recruiting if we're not going to play the games?
Yeah, so two things. One, you want to play football, and two, you want to show growth while you play football, and then this thing will be trending in the right direction. We're not going to flip our program back to being a 10, 11-game winner in just a season. It's just you'd have to get so lucky in all the 50-50 games and lucky in some games that you shouldn't win in order even to be there. It could happen, I suppose, if you are as lucky as, say, Auburn was in the title year. But, I mean, yeah, let's just worry about playing football and then playing well, and then hopefully we can convince kids in a way that we couldn't with Willie, which was there was a ton of hype in the spring and the summer, but then there was no payoff. Let's get the payoff on the field.
Yeah, well, here we were just a moment ago talking about models for attendance and, the games that will or will not be played and what will Doak Campbell look like. I feel sort of big picture-esque right now, right? This is how I am about recruiting, too. Every day there's another story about a kid we're going after, or there's a kid that said yes, or there's somebody 2021, 2022. And I get it. It's important. You got to stockpile talent. You got to raise the floor. You got to, obviously got to fill your roster with a greater depth of talent than we currently have. But all of that is absolutely ratcheted up when you have some success on the field for 2020, for now. And how much of that success can be predicted, it's that much more difficult with, we eliminated spring football. We really don't know who's going to start at quarterback. The game of predicting what you can do to impact recruiting long-term is very difficult right now. I can pull up the schedule with the best of them, but I don't know if we're going to play West Virginia or not. I don't know if we're going to play out in Boise. I don't know who our starting quarterback's going to be. I don't know what games we can or cannot win. Based on the previous seasons of those opponents, I can tell you that there's a sizable group of 50-50 games. The answer would be, if you're healthy and you get something at all out of that offensive line, you could win the majority of the 50-50 games, and that would get you to 9 wins, and all of a sudden you are having you're seeing a serious uptick in recruiting. But it's a tough game to play right now.
It is. Well, and referring to Ira's article, and you talked to him a little bit in the 4 o'clock hour about it, I just to put all those eggs in that basket right now, I think we're getting a lot of recruiting updates because there's no other content for FSU sites to provide. This is something concrete that is happening.
Sure.
Other than Swafford giving you a comment every once in a while, or David Coburn speaking to this outlet, or a university president in the SEC speaking out about attendance. We really don't have a whole lot in the way of box scores and sidebars and super regionals and regional previews, all that kind of stuff. No, we've got recruiting updates. So you hear about it more, but the substance of what we want to do, it's still yet to come. We're laying the groundwork and we're trying to impress people with our personalities. But I think the thing that sucks the most is, obviously we get better as a football program with spring practice and fall practice, but will kids be able to visit and see those practices? That's so important.
It's really important. It doesn't feel like they will, but maybe they will.
And if they're not, is there a way as a university, and maybe this is something they're exploring with the technology department, I know Norvell leaves no stone unturned, is there a way to present it virtually so the kids can see the sights, the sounds, uncensored? This is how we do things. Is there a way to present that in real time?
That's a good point, Tom, because I hadn't thought about that. I'm so averse to the idea of distance learning and having to connect, quote unquote, with people via Zoom or Skype. Or Teams, whatever it is you're using currently, it's not the same as an actual visit. It's not the same as having your feet on the ground, on the campus, walking around, talking to your coaches, potentially your coaches and teammates. It's not the same. But you're right. It's also, just because I don't like it It's not going away. It has to be utilized. It is something that is going to be utilized by universities across the country, businesses, you name it. I shudder to think we're moving towards a less connected society, but that's big picture stuff that ignores the need for temporarily utilizing that technology as best you can.
In the short term, there's no doubt we will be less connected.
Yeah.
Now, you got to define what you believe the short term to be. 6
Correct.
months, a year, 2 years?
Yeah.
The Spanish flu being an example, you're looking at
a couple years.
18 months to 2 years, right? But with practices being... this is where living in Florida should be an advantage, right? I mean, I know that we're kind of in Georgia, but still, in this state, in this region of the country that's so talented, we are regionally accessible. And maybe it's not to our fan base on a Saturday where you got to pay a 2-night minimum at $400 a pop at a hotel. But if you're a recruit from Eastern Alabama, South Georgia, you can get here pretty easily.
Yeah, you can if we're allowed to have you. If you're allowed to be here, if it's something that the university approves, can recruits be here wandering about the campus while we're minimizing the number of students, actual students that are here? I don't know. I would say this, going back to that schedule thing, maybe all they need is a little motivation due to a classic W's and L's segment of the Jeff Cameron Show. Not right now, Tom. Maybe we just steel ourselves to have one prepared for later in the week. Because I did do, here's a miniature version of that. Here's a really succinct version of that. I said there were a bunch of 50-50 games. If you project that Florida State's going to win every one of the 50-50 games that you just look at literally as a toss-up, like, I don't know, they weren't very good, we're not very good, we lack some depth here, don't know who's going to play quarterback. Then again, they could have their best year, and they still only won 4 games last year, that team over there. So I don't know if West Virginia's prepared to beat us. So games like that, Boise, Samford's a win, West Virginia. I mean, Tom, it's not crazy to think Florida State gets off to a 4-0 start. West Virginia, Samford, Boise, bye week, NC State. We're rolling, baby. We're 4-0. What a run. Now we get our comeuppance because Clemson rolls into town, and that's a toughie. That's a different animal. You lose that game. But going back to the 50-50 games, would you say Wake Forest is that? It's here.
For more content, please swipe your credit card now. $5.99 for W's and L's.
It's another win right there. Louisville's a 50-50 prospect. We did beat them a year ago, and we were terrible. You can give all the love you want to Coach Satterfield. They lost to this sorry-ass program last year.
And they had to make a couple of low percentage plays to even be in the game.
That's correct. So another 50-50. Pitt, another 50-50. Miami, another 50-50. Boston College, another 50-50. I mean, wins all over this place.
Is BC a 50-50? Nah. They don't have a coach. They don't have an athletic director. They got nothing.
They may not even be able to make the trip.
They don't have a plane.
Syracuse, another. I mean, that's a...
It'd take a 4-day bus trip.
Win. So many wins.
Syracuse forfeits. Win. Boston College forfeits. Win.
Look at them all. We're raining W's.
We scrimmage with Mercer. We bring him down.
It's funny to look at, though. Seriously, you're like, okay. I can artificially inflate a crazy record by ignoring our profound weaknesses and lack of depth and time together as a staff amongst players by just solely projecting what I think those sorry programs that are on our schedule will do or not do. So West Virginia, Boise State, NC State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Pitt, Miami, Boston College, Syracuse. There are opportunities to mount victories there.
Operation Unconquered is a go.
We're going to lose to Clemson. I can't give you the undefeated season, guys. I tried just now.
Unconquered and undefeated are very different things. You've seen. The statue still stands, sir.
Oh, it's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
It's time to unite, Tallahassee. After years of our great local restaurants serving us, it's our turn to serve them. With this simple purchase of gift cards, we can help them survive the financial toll of COVID-19. Buy them for yourself, your family, or as gifts. No doubt we'll all have a reason to go out and celebrate soon as we safely can. Go to hungertohelp.com and show your support for the heart of our community today. This message brought to you in part by your local Tallahassee radio broadcasters.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
Planning on expanding or renovating your home or business? Did you know that these construction projects start with preliminary work such as professional sets of drawings and proper engineering? Before you apply for financing or sign a lease agreement, allow our team of contractors, architects, and engineers to assist you with planning and budgeting. Hello, I'm Travis, owner of T-Spark Enterprises, and I am here because we want your project to launch on the right foot. Call us today and we will take care of your construction needs. We aim to provide work that will exceed your expectations, guaranteeing picture-perfect results.
Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark, TSparkConstruction.com.
License number CGC 1525336. Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachian Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
AAA Tree Experts has been a Tallahassee staple for over 35 years. But did you know they now offer landscaping? AAA landscaping services include custom outdoor landscape, creative landscape design and architecture, hardscapes, waterscapes, retention walls, and French drains, irrigation and sodding, landscape and holiday lighting. Call them today for all your outdoor landscaping needs. 850-385-3319 or visit them online at AAATreeExperts.net. AAA Tree Experts and Landscaping.
Hey everybody, it's good news, and we could use some good news right about now. Getting family dinners to go with curbside pickup at Bumpa's, well, it's easy to do, and it's all day, every day. You're going to want to pay with a credit card, bring your own PIN to sign the receipt, and they want to thank you, so do I, for supporting your local restaurants when they need it most. By the way, if you call, it's 850-999-8652. And here's Rick Pitino to give you the menu items.
Pasta alla vodka. You get chicken, garlic bread, and it's a nice round price. Secondly, you got 20 wings. You got chicken fingers too, fries, onion rings on the side. Nice, also good for the family of 4. 2 racks of ribs with mac and cheese and broccoli. You could sub in some fries or rings if you want instead too, but those racks of ribs, absolutely delicious. Just beautiful.
Or you can order, Rick, from their regular menu. It's Bumpus349.com.
The whole shebang.
Gulick and Wingo.
This playing out in the court of public opinion ultimately ends up benefiting no one.
I agree.
Like in the normal course of negotiation, you're right. The ability to go out here and when I first saw that this plan was put out there, I went, I can't believe Major League Baseball would put this plan out because it's going to put the players in the spot where if they push back at all, they appear greedy. Yeah. And that's usually the goal in these things. And now going back the other way, the players, and we'll get to Sean Doolittle among them, bringing up a lot of the health and safety reasons, is the perfect rebuttal of that to bring this and make this about something that's so universally right now understood by people. Will the NBA and the PA look at this and say, you know what, it's probably better if we do all of our planning behind closed doors from now on and don't come to the table until we all agree on something, because there ain't no win with the look we got.
Golick and Wingo, weekdays at 6 a.m. on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Studios in Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
do wonder, by the way, what we'll watch. You know, we've spent some time today talking about the Last Dance last night and final 2 episodes. I kind of got depressed last night. But then I also saw, and you know what? One of the good things that comes out of this, and it really all started back when, frankly, the 30 for 30 stuff began, and that is that ESPN realizes that there's a real appetite for this stuff, that we eat it up. Not just during a pandemic. I like this stuff in general. I love documentaries, first of all. Secondly, anything that gives us more insight to the greatest players or eras or teams in history is welcomed by all sports fans.
Yeah, to me, what I would do if I was ESPN is during the week, I'd change ESPN News at night to just like rotating the 30 for 30s. I know they're trying to capitalize on it with ESPN Plus, but I mean, cable's a premium these days anyway.
Yeah.
So those things are always welcomed. I am happy this is over, though, because the 11 p.m. thing, it's a little much. I'm done with that. On Sundays?
I love how old you are now.
But on a Sunday, I mean, really, a Thursday, no problem. Sunday, trying to get the week started right.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because last night we had a Zoom call with the family. Just all the family got together to congratulate my nephew who just finished UVA Law School, and we're celebrating for him. I'm awfully proud of him. Congratulations to Carter, and it's an amazing accomplishment. Anyhow, you know, I feel bad for him, and I feel bad for all graduates anywhere, really not getting the opportunity to soak in the moment. So we had a little pre-dinner salute to him at around 7 o'clock, and the whole family got together, and we said congratulations. He's still up at UVA in Charlottesville, and on his back deck, you know, just kind of sitting there having a beer. I'm like, hey, man, I wish we could be there with you to celebrate. And we got done with that. We did a cheers and a toast, and I went outside and was hanging out with the kids. And right around 8:45, I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm going to go to bed early tonight. There's no reason to stay up. Let's get the week started. Let's get up really early in the morning, go work out, maybe get a run in at like 6 a.m. Like, I had all these grandiose ideas about how my day and week was going to play out. And then the kids go, ooh, Last Dance, get ready to start. And I was like, that's right. We'll be up till 11. We'll be up till 11.
It was worse for me for the first few weeks because we watched Westworld on Sunday nights at my house. So we got to do that. Then I got to pivot to 2 hours of Last Dance. I'm not in bed, you know, before 12:45. I mean,
well, that's a toughie, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, you get to around 9:30 in the morning on a Monday, I'm up. But when I feel like I need a nap before 10 a.m., that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. So I'm glad that the Last Dance has had its Last Dance.
Yeah, I would have liked, I mean, it was thorough. There's not much else they could have explored. So, I mean, in that sense, you don't want overkill. 10 parts is enough of almost anything, just about. But I did like the time I got to spend with the kids. Watching them learn really who Mike is or was, it was rewarding to me. A lot of this was a trip down memory lane. I remember those games. I remember what I was thinking at that time. You know, did I think Utah could win? Did I think Phoenix could win? I remember thinking Phoenix was the one that I thought could have won, might have, should have won. I think if they win Game 6, they do win. I think they're going to win Game 7. But that is part of the overreaching arc of this, and that is just like Tiger Woods, and you and I were talking about this morning, just like Tiger Woods, if you happen to be one of the game's great players to come along while the greatest player is occupying space, it's just you're unlucky, man. Charles Barkley, Reggie Miller, all of the Knicks. I mean, you can go on. Patrick Ewing obviously stands out there, but you go through all of these teams. That Utah Jazz team is really good. I was reminded of how good they were. I was reminded of what a matchup problem Karl Malone was for the Bulls. They had no answers for him. The relationship between he and Stockton, legendary, but you're reminded of it when you watch it play out. That pick and roll was deadly, and everybody knows it's coming.
The one clip of the three, the backside pass on the three, you're like, man, you don't do that unless you know. It's almost like a twin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got that intrinsic connection with the twin where it's like almost telepathy.
It was amazing to watch, but the common theme, again, is that Jordan always found a way. There is no, for example, LeBron doesn't show up, important game, stand in the corner and pout, can't get it figured out game. in Jordan's career in the finals. He has off nights, but there are no games where the moment is too big for Michael Jordan. If anything, it elevates him when it's all on the line. And you just reminded of that. And anyhow, to see my kids learn it and not just view him as a brand. My kids grew up where Jumpman, the picture, the Jordan logo, that's just what it was, a logo. It's no different than Adidas, no different than Nike, no different than Reebok or whatever. They see that on a shirt or they see that on a shoe. Kids wear Jordans to this day to school, especially in elementary school. It's like a big deal. My son Clark had to have a pair of Jordans. I just got done buying him a pair of Jordans for Christmas. I was laughing. I was like, whatever's old is new again, because I remember begging my parents for Jordans. But he was only a symbol, and now they know what he is and who he was and what kind of player he was. Even Bryce was like, oh, man, people don't even do that now. I'm like, right. He's transcendent.
The crazy thing is you can be the most dominant in the game at the time, maybe ever, obviously, in Jordan's case. But you still have to get lucky to win a title. There are things that have to happen and fall in place. Like with Tiger, there are some majors that you can never take away from him, and you say, it's never looked like this before. He's done it in 3 different majors.
Yeah.
What he did at the 2000 U.S. Open is like the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's a boat racing of epic proportions.
How do you outdo 97 Augusta? Like, that's really impossible to do, but
and then
he did it.
He did it.
Yeah. But then you look yesterday on CBS, they had the Bob May one. There's a little stroke of luck there, especially on 18. The ball goes awry, and it finds a very nice landing area. You had the 01 Masters, the DeMarco Masters, where Chris barely misses a couple of chips. I mean, you just think about these little minuscule things. It wasn't until Y.E. Yang made us all realize it was possible.
Yeah, you're human.
I mean, Molinari at the British Open a couple years ago, Brooks at the PGA a couple years ago. That is like the norm in golf. That you're like, so close. But for Tiger, it never, ever, ever happened. Sometimes it was sheer dominance, and sometimes it was luck. Same thing with the Bulls in their 6. Sometimes a bounce had to go your way. A jump ball, a kick-out pass, a rebound.
Yeah.
Even though you have Michael and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, you still need a bounce here or there. And that's the great thing about sports.
Yeah, there's always going to be somebody who either temporarily elevates their game in the moment, as it is in the individual games like tennis or golf. Bob May had no business being on the course with Tiger Woods. No business. But on that week, in that weekend, Bob May went to some place he's never been before or since, and Tiger had to overcome that and got a little lucky to do so. Chris DeMarco, we know, has no business being on the course with Tiger Woods. But yet there he was that time. And there are moments like that in tennis where an upstart guy gets hot in a tournament, and now Fed's being pushed to a 5th set by some guy ranked 58th in the world. You're like, really? You're going to play out your ass today in the semifinals that you have no business being in to begin with? In individual sports, you see that a lot. But it is true in team sports, too. Certain bounces, certain calls, certain things that have to go your way. And in team sports like basketball in particular, anybody in the finals is going to have 2 All-Stars on their team, if not Hall of Fame great players. I mean, in the case of Utah, they had 2 Hall of Famers. In the case of Phoenix, you have certainly a Hall of Famer in Charles Barkley. He's one of the 50th greatest players of all time. Dan Marley was an All-Star. You had Kevin Johnson was an All-Star. They had All-Stars. Utah, Phoenix, Seattle. I mean, Gary Payton and Sean Kemp were no joke. You're always going to have somebody who's great in the moment that if you don't play well or you don't get a break here or there, you could lose the series. I think the amazing thing is they just never did. He's undefeated in finals. And not even Tom Brady can say things like that, football being the ultimate team game. Tom's been to 9 Super Bowls, didn't win them all.
The absurd thing is that he's been to 9.
Well,
even more so than the 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah, say it out loud. You've been to 9.
You've been to 9.
Well, what I do whenever we play this game of should, shouldn't, I would argue it depends on if you're arguing for the player or against the player. But there are years where, for example, you can make a real good argument that if Scottie Pippen doesn't have a migraine, they beat Detroit that year, they're going to go on and win the finals. But he did get a migraine in Game 7 and didn't play, and they did barely lose to Detroit. So that's one he could have had, should have had, probably shouldn't have won the Phoenix one, probably, or maybe shouldn't have won the Utah one.
Utah, too. If they don't get past that game, I mean, they've fallen apart, it looks like.
Well, I actually think that the argument against the Bulls would have been they probably, in retrospect, I think Reggie Miller was right. They probably should not have beat that Pacers team. That was an amazing effort.
One of the few times in my childhood I did root for Chicago.
You hated the Pacers. Well, you especially hated Reggie Miller.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, He had a legendary relationship with the New York Knicks and their fans.
I was like, go get him, Michael. I was like, Michael, the one time I root for you, you're not going to get the job done. But
Yeah, they did. But I do that thing where I say, well, I should have had this one, but they did get screwed out of this one. They did win this one, which I'm not real sure about. Yeah, it's like San Antonio and Miami. Reverse that. That should, that was crazy.
The other way.
It should have been the other way. But there's justice served because the Heat had no business. No business. It still pisses me off. And then that happened, There are Lakers titles like that where, Big Shot Bob hits something crazy or you're like, really? Okay. Ball caroms off of 6 people into your hands in rhythm for 3. Of course it did. It drives you nuts. That Nebraska team that won 3 titles in the 90s had some moments where you go, oh, ball's going to be kicked after a batted pass and fall into the end zone as one of your guys dives across the middle to catch it to save the win.
Well, if Kelvin Benjamin didn't tell Jimbo that the plays were being called by Damian,
we would have gotten.
But that Auburn team would have been the prime example of
business. The Georgia game, everything else.
Geez.
Kick 6 against Alabama. Yeah. No, I know. There would have been it still kind of makes me mad they were there, but I'm glad they were because I probably would rather play them than Alabama. But
I almost think we would have beat Alabama bigger.
Well, we were a better team.
We were prepared for that style offense that Alabama was playing at the time.
Yeah.
The Auburn offense we were like, whoa, what the hell is this?
With Tiger, you can do the same thing, though, because he, too, has been screwed out of a couple where, again, hitting the flag on a Saturday, I'll always maintain he's going to go on to win that.
That was a Friday, though.
Whatever. He's going to win. He loses the tournament because of the penalty imposed. You end up getting screwed. They almost kicked him out of the tournament. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts.
That was close.
In retrospect, though,
Chamblee was calling for his head.
Well, and Brandl's been right about a lot of things. He was straight up wrong about that. We now know from pictures taken from other angles, he actually got screwed, and he shouldn't have been penalized at all. At all. They now know that. He should not have been penalized. And so, listen, I think he's going to go on and win. I think the momentum is in that direction. I was watching over the weekend. I'd forgotten the PGA Champion. Did you watch the PGA Championship?
The Brooks
with Brooks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't see his first go round. I saw him at the turn in 18. The comments at both those times.
I just saw the moment where Tiger gets undone, and there's a really bad bounce, and you're like, you forget these little things, and it's like what you're talking about. It's the favorable bounce or the negative bounce. In golf, there's a lot of that.
Sure.
Where you
see Jordan Spieth's majors.
He had one of the greatest years of all time, man.
He did.
I know you want to take away.
But you still need the bounces to have one of the greatest years. Where he got screwed is Jason Day had the weekend of a lifetime in the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
Like, when's Jason Day actually, battled his nerves and won in a major, except for that weekend? And Jordan's like, wow, of all the weekends you pick, it was very much Stenson Phil Mickelson in the British. Really? I would have won all but 10 British Opens ever, and you picked this week to play.
Was it that many? I thought it was like 6.
It might have been single digits. Yeah.
I think it was single digits. I think everyone played for the last 144 years. Yeah. He would have won all but like 6. And that's the funny part is Phil played great. He played great. Mm-hmm. I would note that Matt Kuchar got screwed. He played lights out on a Sunday.
45 minutes for one hole.
I mean, he played exceptionally well, and we would have never thought Matt Kuchar was going to do that.
I think they said it was 26 minutes. Like, it was an absurd amount of time.
Yeah, that's not what you
Just keep playing. Like, if I was Jordan, I'd be like, listen, man, I'm so sorry. This is a mess. I'll catch up. Go ahead.
I still remember the absurdity of letting, Rory play through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the skies were dark, not just because the sun was going down, but it looked like storms were going to roll in, and they had 2 weather delays already.
They just let him play right through.
So they let him tee off, and Phil was cool with that.
But he wasn't cool about the other part.
No, playing up to the green, Phil was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, Phil was pissed. That was weird. But then again, Phil can't say anything. Phil once hit a moving ball. He was so disgusted, so screw him.
Absolutely.
He embarrassed himself at the U.S. Open. Yeah, not what you do.
Well, plus, in that case, he almost chipped in, too. Phil almost hit the most legendary chip of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been more than Tiger because that is like to win the major right there.
Yeah.
At least you get information on Rory's tee shot, though. Like, for me, the fact that he's hitting up and you're in the fairway.
Yeah.
Rory, if it's not wet, if it's not soaking wet on the course, that goes in the water. So Phil would have been like, ooh, well, I'm glad I know that Rory went in the water. This information is useful to me.
By the way, the event over the weekend, we referenced it earlier in the show, but it was nice to see live golf. I mean, I enjoyed it, but you really do miss out when there's only 4 people there. It lacks a pace. Watching guys carry their bag for 10 minutes to go to the ball, I'm like, okay, let's move it along here. You're just so used to them cutting to a shot, 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 and it was great. That course is beautiful. I'd love to play it someday. Who knows if we could ever get on, but the interaction and the shots themselves, a lot of fun to watch. You're watching the best players in the world, although I could just do without watching Matthew Wolff. He's a wonderful player, but that goofy thing messes me up every time I watch it.
Jim Furyk will never die.
It just drives me nuts. I'm like, what are you doing? It's not even the twitchy to do thing before the hit. He also doesn't, his club is way the hell out here. It doesn't make nothing about the way he swings a golf club makes any sense at all. Great that he can duplicate it time and again. Yeah. That's all you got to be able to do. But God help you if that ever goes awry. Nobody can fix it.
Listen, that'd be like playing scrambles with my dad growing up. My dad, Billy Mayfair, is the ball. He putts from the left side. He's a lefty. They didn't have lefty clubs as a kid, so he had to learn to play opposite. And that's how old he is. Yeah, they didn't have lefty clubs at his Muni course. Anyway, he like strikes the ball across the ball, so he puts English on it when he putts.
Oh,
he got down to single-digit handicap doing this nonsense earlier in his life. But like, if we're in a scramble, he
can't watch him
because I can't.
I'm not going to watch you do this.
You can't learn anything about what he does. No. Or if he's not anchoring, you just don't watch.
Yeah,
like he hits the ball and then you just look and see if it goes in. Or not. But you can't go to school on it. And that's if you're playing with Matthew Wolff, you can't. It's like, man, I don't know what kind of spin you're putting on the ball.
I wouldn't watch any of his tee shots if I were playing with him. I'd have to just stare off into I wouldn't want to see him hit the ball.
But like indications about the wind and stuff, I'm not going to school at all on what you're doing.
The number one thing that stood out to me was that Rory McIlroy is really, I think, poised to take off again. He was doing that when it got shut down. He was doing that last year. There's an ease and a comfort that he's got going right now that he always drove the golf ball better than anybody, and it's still something to behold just to watch. The consistency time and again. That big-ass, beautiful draw, you're like, I'm just jealous. That's all I am. I just sit and watch it more than anybody else. I watch him hit drives, and I go, well, that's
325, 330 in the air. Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. Yeah. It's just pristine.
It's the putter. We'll see if he can make the putts.
If he makes putts, he's going to win 2 and 3 more majors in his career. He's just too good. I don't know if he'll ever win the Masters. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He had the moment. It was on his club, and he was very young and fell to pieces and really hasn't been too much in contention.
No, into Saturday, yes, but not on Sunday.
Not on the back 9 on a Sunday. We'll see if he does. He's going to win another major. I believe that for sure. He's just too talented, too good. He's also in a good space right here in his head. I like him.
If he can putt, he's going to win 5 or 6, I think. Because he's always there.
Yeah.
It's just like the consistency about everything, the way he strikes the ball, is going to put him in the top 10, maybe 15 to 20 more times in his career. If he can putt consistently,
make a few putts.
You're going to close. But the thing I enjoyed the most is Ricky was the best player all day long.
Ricky was
There's
great.
No doubt.
Yeah.
But then we get to winning time, and you short side yourself, get a little squirrely from the middle of the fairway. I said, oh, no. What a shame. Ricky, where did that come from? Out of nowhere.
He's too good to only have 5 wins. You watch his game, and you're like, you're too good to only have 5 wins.
You dominate the whole day, and then you've got it. You talk about on your club. There it is, right there. Knock it close, young man. And he blocks it out to the right, short side.
You know what's weird about him and his game? I like his game. I can't believe he hits it that far. He's such a diminutive little kid, little guy. He hits it a mile. They were making the point, I think they're right. The two players on tour that are that kind of slight are him and Justin Thomas.
Yeah, they're jockeys, yeah.
And they both hit it a mile. I stood right next to Justin Thomas at Augusta and watched him hit a drive 300-plus yards, and you're just standing next to him. You're like, well, how's that even possible? You're like $150 if you're lucky. And I mean it. If you're lucky, you're $150. So you can flick that guy and do real damage. Real damage. It is unreal, the club head speed they're able to generate. And I admire that. They've obviously worked very hard. Ricky has a lot of elements to his game. He's a better putter than almost anybody out there, too.
It would be like, and you've seen him in person, but I imagine it would be like if Prince were still alive and he walks in the door, you're like, Prince is coming, and you're like, he's short.
He's he
walks
tiny,
in, and you're like,
wow, you are really tiny.
Hey there, fella.
Hey, little guy. How are you? Good work out of you. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you had a little escape this evening listening to the program. Maybe you're going to listen first thing in the morning. If you are just now waking up, listening to the end of the show on your long jog or your commute, hey, thanks for that.
Eat your damn vegetables.
Be well. Talk to you tomorrow.
You came full of fooler, I can tell, when a John gone jam by Jezebel. You can't beat those.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Attention Tallahassee, Phase 1